And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Well. Welcome on into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or if you're watching the stream, we are up and live on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I am Danger. That's Battaglia.
It's always exciting when you get a new schedule.
Sure
I know
is.
the NFL is always like the king of this, but I don't want to wish my summer away. I'm looking at this Amherst schedule. I think all in all it's pretty good. There's one doozy in here, though. We'll get to all this.
Yeah, we'll talk Amherst schedule release. And I know talking about executives in the NFL isn't really sexy, but I don't know how much you've been following this players union story for the NFL.
It seems like malpractice from the outside here.
Does
it not? I mean,
if you're the players union, how do you let this happen unless the NFL is just so influential that even they have their fingers in their own players union? It's a bizarre story. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on here with the NFL players union this afternoon as well. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills later this hour with our good friend Alex Brasky of Bills Digest and the Batavia Daily News.
yeah, and he's got a new pod, the Buffalo Pregame, so we'll talk to Alex because Danger, like 2 weeks from now, we're in the day 2 of training camp at St. John Fisher. So this is coming at us pretty quick. And thankfully, it's been a quiet couple weeks in terms of Bills news. You don't want any Bills news, right? Everything's all set for the 90 coming to Fisher. But let's talk about some of these issues as we kind of whet your appetite for Buffalo Bills football. Alex Brasky at the bottom of the hour.
Seen a lot of Bills insiders and Bills beat writers at the stadium today, kind of taking in the progress of the new stadium up on the roof of the new stadium, the canopy of the new stadium, to kind of see how it's all going to work. It's pretty impressive stuff. So we'll talk to Brasky about the Buffalo Bills here at 3:25 this afternoon. And you mentioned the Amherst schedule release. Talk a little bit about that with our buddy Don Stevens, Hall of Famer, voice of the Rochester Americans, stopping by the sports bar at 425.
What do you think Don does in the summer? You can ask him that question. I mean, like,
what's Don's hobby in the summer? Is he a gardener?
No, I think he's a woodworker, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, a little woodwork.
I think he's pretty good at it. He could have made a career on that.
All right, I like that.
Is Don grilling? I mean, can we go over? Like, what is Don doing?
We didn't get the invite. If Don is grilling, we did not get the invite. I don't know why. We've got the schedule for the Rochester Americans' 70th anniversary season, and they'll get everything underway at home Friday, October 10th. You said it, Gino. That's 2 months from now. We're not, 3 months from now. We're not wishing our summer away, but it is always fun to get the new schedule, to look ahead and kind of project what the world looks like as the Amherst take the ice.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. We have time for your calls today, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Quite often what happens with the show, Danger, will come up on a topic, and because not everybody listens in real time 3 to 6, or because we're engaging on social media, kind of carried to after hours last night. And it was just a simple comment, I thought, from Thurman Thomas that struck me. Like, James Cook is so important in this team. He is the second best Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about it. No. There's a difference between second best and second most important, second most valuable, because you could easily make an argument that Deion Dawkins is more valuable. But the conversation continued, and some people pointing out, hey, like, you have a corner right now that could be all pro. Is actually Christian Benford ready to take that mantle? What about a Greg Rousseau? Greg Rousseau, maybe he takes that step forward, but until then, I can't dispute James Cook as the second best Buffalo Bill. We'll talk to Alex and get his thoughts on, who that should be.
It's crazy, right? we kind of almost universally acknowledge him as the second best player on the team. And there's a little bit of debate there, as you mentioned, but that's also the guy that you're probably going to let walk in free agency at the end of a good season, at the end of a successful season. It's value. Really, that's what it is. I mean, you could say, yeah, he's the best. He's super talented at his position. But we don't value that position the way we value left tackle. We don't value that position the way we value defensive line or corner. And I don't fault them for building the roster the way they've built it. It's been a formula for success. But important, yeah, there are more important players than James Cook. James Cook goes down for a game or two, you're feeling okay about the backfield with what you have. If that line gets banged up, you feeling as good? We've been lucky the last 2 years, man. That line has been largely healthy for the better part of those 2 years. And it ain't like that in the rest of the NFL. Wow. So there is certainly a difference between best player and most important player, but we'll get into that with Brasky when he joins us later. Gene, if we can, just for a second here, the story coming out of the NFL today is not about any specific player. It's not about any specific team. It's about the players' union. It's about the NFLPA. It's about the guy that they hired after D. Smith a couple of years ago, who we find out now through some reporting via ESPN is a part-time employee of a collective of that are looking to buy NFL teams. So there's
Right. Wait, you can't work both sides of the fence. You want to be an owner, but yet you're representing the players? Or maybe was it a timeline like you're representing the players? Hey, the real money is over here. Why don't we have a conversation?
I hear this story, and in my head I'm thinking to myself, there's no way the NFL didn't have their fingers in placing this guy, because the way he came in to this position was kind of secretive, right? It wasn't like it was a very public hearing or voting or process to get him into Lloyd Howell into his position as executive director of the NFLPA. And now you've got a petition that has emerged to have him removed as the executive director. And this is happening fast. I mean, the reports came out this morning, and there's a lot of smoke around this guy now. This petition just recently put up for all of these different reasons. I wonder if his days as executive director, maybe not even be days, might be hours. Maybe by the time we're off the air, we're talking about who the next executive director of the NFLPA is going to be.
Well, and we always say this, like a petition on change.org. Somebody please tell me the top 5 things that change.org has actually accomplished on their own. We're gonna this is something you did with your kid. We're gonna file a petition. So this isn't exactly, I don't think, coming from the union. This is from just change.org. Anybody could do something on change.org. So I don't know if this is legit, but I always kind of scoff at a petition danger. You and I could do a petition.
It does read, and it's harsh, Lloyd Howell has failed on every measure. His continued leadership threatens the union's credibility, wastes player resources, and compromises the NFLPA's ability to effectively advocate for NFL players. So we don't, you're right. We don't know who put the change.org petition together, but there are a lot of grounds for Howell's removal if they chose to go in that direction. You've got the conflict of interest from his part-time employment with the Carlyle Group, who's looking actively to become part owners of NFL franchises. There was a collusion ruling that was kind of hidden and done in secrecy. Financial misconduct, the process that resulted in him getting the job in June of 2023. There's a lot of things working against this guy. And if you're the NFLPA, I mean, you moving forward here, know what's coming, and you know what the NFL wants, and you know what the NFL is probably going to get because this union is dysfunctional.
Well, maybe it's just kind of a wake-up call for their union here, because I just think when we're embracing over the years here, for example, why don't these guys have guaranteed contracts like baseball and other sports? It blows my mind. The only guarantee you get is the signing bonus. That's because you cash the check. That's it. Like, these owners are making hand over fist, and that's one of the reasons. And to me, that should happen at some point. But the problem is that these careers are so fleeting, and this union, as you mentioned, as compared to baseball, kind of flimsy. It should be stronger at this point.
Say that this is the worst union in professional sports, the NFLPA. I mean, it feels like it's a mess. Their constitution has a specific procedure for ending his tenure, and maybe that happens sooner rather than later. Hard to imagine, though, a guy with a part-time gig working for a private equity firm that wants to buy NFL teams can truly say he has the NFL players' best interest.
Adrian, I think the story here, because this is Florio putting it up, and he loves the legalese and the jargon. For most football fans, I'm going to be honest. If I don't care, lots of people don't care. I don't care. We have a corrupt guy in the union. What this is pointing to is 2030. That's when the next CBA comes up. And in 2030, the NFL is already making noise danger that they want to approach their TV partners in advance. They don't need to wait to 2030. And it could be radically different. We're used to CBS and Fox and, Sunday night on NBC, ABC getting Monday Night Football on ESPN. No, it could be completely different. But the point is that that's not just going to be the only thing. There's going to be things that the NFL is going to be looking for. 18 games, games overseas, maybe franchises overseas. There are going to be things in the 2030s, again, that are going to provide a new level of wealth. And the thing that I can't wrap my mind around, but it's absolutely true, most people, hey, I got to my number. Congratulations, I'm retired. For these NFL owners, they're aliens. It's never enough. So to boil this down, did the NFL actually plant a spy? Is this guy legitimately like...
That's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
That's exactly where my mind goes. That's why it's fascinating. And I'm with you. Normally, I wouldn't care. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. I hope I'm sitting down because there's a corrupt guy in a position of power. But I don't know that this guy is as corrupt as he is a plant. It almost feels like the NFL has their fingers now in the NFLPA with this guy being in there. I mean, if you're making what he's making to be the executive director of the NFLPA, you don't necessarily need a side hustle with a private equity firm. Go get a hobby. Go hang out with Dawn and do some woodworking in your spare time.
I thought, like, what happened to ethics here? Like, that should be just the first thing. Like, wait a second. You can't work for an outfit that wants in on NFL ownership.
Right. So, yeah, the cynic in me wonders, has this guy been a spy, a plant? Did somebody within why wasn't this more public? What, and how in the dark are these players? These players, it might be too late. I mean, like, it might be too late for them to ever be able to get what they actually deserve from their union and have their union represent them the way they want to be represented. And now you've got this, which might set you back even a few more years. You really haven't had leadership in that role because you've got a guy with a very, very specific conflict of interest given his part-time job. Crazy stuff out of the NFL, but we expect nothing less, and it is the offseason, so these are the kind of stories that when they pop up in my feed, normally I'd be like, yeah, what? But it's just too coincidental, it's too bizarre, and it feels, like I said, the cynic in me feels like the NFL has this much power that they can actually get their guy into the executive director role in the NFLPA. Whew, they're an unstoppable force. The NFL.
It's didn't get any uniform news. Didn't get any Bills uniform news.
No.
Like, you're the last year of Highmark, and you think Highmark Stadium, and some people may think back to the 70s and OJ or beating the Dolphins. I'm sorry, like, if you want to get nostalgic about the stadium, it's the Super Bowl years. and it's the uniform. And how has this organization not listened to their fan base about a red helmet this year?
It's got to happen.
It's going to happen.
Or we just satiated with Josh Allen teasing us with a different colored helmet at the return of the blue and the red, because that's an annual tradition now.
So last year was charcoal, right? It was a great. So first year was red.
But it was an off red. It wasn't the red.
Right.
It wasn't the right red.
No, it was like
blue chrome one year. I remember.
Chrome. Yeah, last year was like a black charcoal-y thing. I still think Zubaz would be the way to go.
Ooh,
actually, if Nike, and we're waiting for that. Hey, Nike, this is the perfect time to. Maybe that happens tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. We'll get the rollout here of these alternate uniforms. I'm just bracing that this is not going to look anything like, the Buffalo Bills. Like, it's going to be like baseball, where you're having radically different things and different color schemes. But if you're Buffalo and you want to say Bills, about like some Zubaz pants or something like that.
The Zubaz print would remind me of a little bit of what the Bengals helmet looks like already, because the Bengals, let's face it, with the stripes and everything, kind of looks a little bit like the Zubaz pattern. And then that got me thinking, with the Saints yesterday unveiling their white alternate helmet, who in the NFL has the best white alternate helmet?
It's not Green Bay.
It's easily the Bengals, Gino. It's easily the Bengals. In fact, I would argue the Bengals' white helmet is better than their regular helmet. The Bengals' white alternate helmet better than their orange and black helmet.
I make an argument that it's just better by comparison for Cleveland. I don't know how that franchise hasn't radically made things over. Why? Because this is what you wore when none of us were alive, when you won a championship? No, it's time to move on and evolve. And maybe if the Browns do get their new stadium.
Sounds like they're going to.
Right. And I'm reading here that, hey, the city of Cleveland wants the Browns to work on to pay for the demolition of the current stadium.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Your problem. Here you go.
The factory of sadness will just collect cobwebs off of the lake until they figure out how to pay for the demolition.
It's like for many years in Detroit, I never made it to Tiger Stadium, but it just sat there for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like life after people kind of thing. Like, there should be a plan. Like the plan in Buffalo, they really haven't talked about the demolition of the stadium. Oh, no. That's going to happen real quick, because with a capital D, development, everything's been rezoned. So you know what? You will have hotels and restaurants and everything else where the current stadium stands.
Parking.
Yeah,
so
you don't
plenty
have,
of parking.
You do not have to worry about that stadium coming down, because there's money to be made in that space.
That's correct.
For the Cleveland Browns, if they're moving out of town, and by out of town I mean they're staying in the metro, but they're not going to be downtown. Can't, if you're just staying in Ohio, you can't allow that. And then what does that stadium become? It just sits there and occasionally holds a concert? What do you do?
No, I think it just sits there. I mean, I'm thinking of venues that have kind of stuck around, venues that have gone away. Like in Detroit, since you mentioned it, the Silverdome, they imploded that. That went away.
Did it?
I think so.
No,
I think the Astrodome is still the Astrodome is still there.
It's right now, yeah.
And they still use that. But maybe I'm getting the Silverdome confused with the Kingdome. I feel like the Kingdome in Seattle went away.
Kingdome sits on the space where the current stadium does, just like Minnesota, where the Metrodome was. Yeah, they knocked that down.
Yeah.
So.
The implosion of those just massive stadiums is always something to watch. I don't really get too excited when we had the implosion of Kodak Park and all the Kodak buildings. Like that didn't get me too excited, because that felt a little harsh. But when you see a domed stadium get imploded and brought down, that's a sight.
2017 is when the Silverdome got knocked down.
That's what I thought.
What are they doing in Oakland with that?
The Coliseum.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be like a old Olympic Village, right? Like the old Olympic sites that weeds are growing through them and wildlife. It's just, Mother Nature takes over, and that's all you have left, just a shell of what used to be there. That's, yeah. Cleveland looks like they're going to get their stadium, but there's always something when you're talking about the state money.
In Washington, who knows? Seems.
My daughter was in Washington, D.C., and she went to, it's called Northwest Bank Stadium now, I believe, not even FedEx Field, where the Commanders play. She went to see
No idea.
She went to say Beyonce. I kept calling it FedEx Field. She's like, it's not FedEx Field. I'm like, it's where the Commanders play. She's like, yeah, it's called Northwest Stadium. I'm like, Northwest Stadium? What? Anyways, she's like, dump. It's a dump. It's the worst. The setup is terrible. There's, she's in one appearance at this stadium. She has all of the complaints of years and years and years of Commanders fan rolled into one. You're like, you can't get in, can't get out. There's only 4 ways in. It's a long path. It's isolated. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, it's as soon as it went up, people were complaining about this. You mentioned FedEx. This happened while you were gone. Something I had no idea, kind of blew my mind. So FedEx, we think it's been around for forever and ever, right? No. The founder, while you were overseas, passed away, Fred Smith. Okay, I'm reading about Fred Smith. He's the father of Arthur Smith.
The offensive coordinator?
The founder of FedEx is the father of Arthur Smith, former Falcons head coach and I'm not putting
Steelers OC.
Yeah. So does that, in a way, I've never liked Arthur Smith, but I can actually kind of appreciate it. This guy is actually grinding when he's a billionaire, and who knew?
Yeah, but he's doing it even though he doesn't need to do it. So he probably comes in with this FU attitude, like, I don't need to be here coaching you up. I've got billions.
Maybe that explains everything. I'm going to run this Falcons offense the way I think it should be run.
He's pretty arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty arrogant, almost as if to say, I dare you to let go of me. What difference does it make? I'll go sleep in my pile of billions. It's fine. We'll be okay. No, that's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So Arthur Smith is sitting on an inheritance of billions with his old man being the founder of FedEx. Crazy. Alex Brasky, Bills Digest. Stopping by next. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills on the Fan.
You're listening update.
Hammer's schedule is out. 17 Friday home games, 4 Saturday home dates, and we will have 3 Sunday afternoon tilts. Only 2 3-3 weekends. The highlight here being a 4-game homestand leading into the holidays. We'll talk to our friend Don Stevens coming up in the 4 o'clock hour here today in the Sports Bar. Game 1 of the doubleheader, day night 1, Mets falling to the Orioles 3-1. Yankees tonight looking for a sweep against Seattle. Jazz Chisholm in a groove.
I feel like I'm just waiting on my pitch, like if it's the first pitch, if it's the second pitch, the third pitch, it could be the fourth pitch, 3-0. It's my pitch, I'm going to fire on it and put my best swing on it and put the barrel on the ball, that's how I feel right now. I'm seeing the ball really well, seeing it out of hand. I just feel like I'm just taking my pitch and going with it.
Rochester Red Wings home tonight against Worcester. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Alex Brasky, Bills Digest, Buffalo pregame pod. One of our favorites here in the Sports Bar joining us now. Is James Cook the second best Buffalo Bill, Alex?
Hey, boys, thanks for having me. And if you, are you asking skill players or overall?
See, here we go.
Here
we get it right into the nuance.
Right, and this is the new. Alex, let me tell everyone how this came about. So we had Thurman Thomas, as he does every year, coming in at the Red Wing game, and he always likes to talk about Bill's issues here. And he's talking about the James Cook situation, and he's hitting all the normal beats, play this year, get paid next year, da-da-da. He's the second best Buffalo Bill right now. Didn't say most important, didn't say just overall. So that was Thurman's take, again, coming from a running back. But Alex, I can't say he's wrong on that. I can make arguments for other players on this team, but I'll clear the dance floor for you here, bud. Who's the second best?
If you ask me second best offensive skill player, it's undoubtedly James Cook. There's no way around it. Khalil Shakir, I love what he's done for this team, but the ceiling that he offers is nowhere near James Cook's ceiling on a play-to-play basis. James Cook can turn a 1-yard run into a 60-yard touchdown just by simply putting his foot in the ground and making a cut. Khalil Shakir, I like his run after the catch, but I don't think he has that dynamic ability that James Cook has. Now, if you open up that question to the entire roster, I think Christian Benford has some sort of say in that conversation, what he's done at the cornerback position the past several years and the all-around nature of his game, which is something I think James Cook is missing. When you look at Christian Benford, not only is he prime in coverage, he's also a premier tackler in the NFL, one of the Bills' best tacklers, especially in the secondary. So I think when you look at complete performance and impact to the team, I think you have to weigh all of that. And Christian Benford, James Cook, maybe one of the offensive linemen, Dion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, the way that he's been trending. But James Cook's certainly an important player to the Bills and their second-best offensive skill player. But I think if you ask me overall, I might go with Christian Benford.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like you could phrase it different ways, and the way Thurman brought it up is just second-best player. Okay, second-best player is kind of wide and vague, but if you said second most important player, well, then I think you're having a conversation about Dion Dawkins, right? Like, oh, no, Dion Dawkins is very important to the success of the Buffalo Bills, and if something were to happen to him, you worry about what's going to happen to your superstar quarterback, the most important player on your team.
Yeah, I actually did a story on the Buffalo pregame Substack, which is my new venture. I hope everyone follows along. I'll certainly be promoting it on my X account, so be sure to stay tuned there. I didn't include an offensive lineman because you sort of take that for granted in terms of important players. You kind of take for granted what the offensive line's been able to do, so maybe I'm a victim of that. But I have Taron Johnson, I have Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, Joshua Palmer. Those three especially, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, I think what those three are able to offer this year, I think that trio is probably the most important trio anywhere on the roster, that pass-catching trio, needing to give Josh Allen more options down the field in important games, especially when it comes to beating your man one-on-one. Keon Coleman trying to improve that. Joshua Palmer is supposed to come in and be able to offer some of that separation ability, and then you also throw Elijah Moore into the fold as well. But you really need that uptick in performance from Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, and you need Joshua Palmer to come in here and do something to leave his stamp on this offense as well.
Alex Brasky, Bills Digest Buffalo pregame pod, and you can subscribe to his Substack as well. Alex, more on Cook here. Let's say this is the magical season, and James Cook doesn't have to put up the numbers he put up last year, but let's say he's a big part of it, and the confetti's coming down. Buffalo Bills are the champions, and James Cook has a big role in that, and then he's going to leave, and we're kind of bracing for that, right? He'll get paid. Would he leave Buffalo at that point as the third best running back in franchise history?
I think it all comes down to money for James Cook. I don't think he's a player that looks into really his situation or where he sits in team lore or anything like that. I think and I'm not faulting him for that. As a running back, their shelf life is so limited, and the way that they're valued in the NFL, you have to strike while the iron's hot. And I don't fault him at all in how he's played it this offseason. And I do feel that James Cook will be probably within the top three running backs. Now, there was a question posed, I believe, by your sister station on WGR, the Mount Rushmore of running backs, and I was thinking about it. I think O.J. Simpson, Thurman Thomas, obviously. Then you have Shady McCoy, Fred Jackson, Travis Henry. So, yeah, I think if James Cook comes through with another season like he put forth last year, especially the touchdown production that took a step forward, I think that's how he can really plant himself into Bill's history. Now, can he take the next step and become more of a three-down running back, somebody you can rely on in pass protection, and somebody that fans will remember in that regard as kind of a workhorse-style running back? I'm not so sure, considering his skill set and with what the Bills have on their roster and Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. So, two-pronged answer, I guess. I don't think it really matters to James Cook where he sits in Bill's lore. I don't think that was the essence of your question. But to answer the essence of your question, yeah, I think if he has another good season, he'll certainly ratchet up the franchise ranks.
Mount Rushmore Radio, always a tell that we're in the slow part of the sports calendar. Alex Brasky joining us, Bills Digest Buffalo pregame. Alex, most people, I think, have kind of become reserved to the fact that Cook may leave in free agency at the end of next season, and good on the Bills for doing that and recognizing that that's how they value the position. I think there are people out there, though, who view that as almost malpractice. Like, hey, he is one of the three best running backs in the league potentially here at the end of this upcoming season. Why would you let that guy walk?
Yeah, I think for Brandon Beane and company, it simply comes down to their philosophy that they've established since coming here to Buffalo, and boy, has it worked wonders for them. And they don't stray very far from their beliefs in terms of how to structure a team, how to build a roster. And yeah, there have been some variations year to year. They've increased their value of certain positions, I think, as years have gone on and the league has evolved. But I don't think they're going to change much at the running back position, especially considering where the position is at in terms of their depth chart. You have Ray Davis, you have Ty Johnson that they've both shown when they've been given heavier workloads that they can come through with a big game. So I think that works against James Cook as well. I think when you take it all into account, the Bills know how valuable James Cook is to their team at this point, but I don't think that they view him as irreplaceable, and I think that's the right way to view it. When you have, as you mentioned earlier, the offensive line that they've established, and there's a few pieces that might be coming and going here in the next few seasons if they're not able to get them locked up contractually. But I think when you have that offensive line and you have Ray Davis and Ty Johnson waiting in the wings behind James Cook, the Bills' urgency to pay a running back is not going to be at an all-time high, especially considering the way that they've always valued the running back, never giving a second contract to one that they've drafted.
Alex, it's not a Bills note per se, but you have a former Buffalo Bill putting his hand up into the air saying, I'd like to be in camp somewhere. Can somebody please give me a shot? Making the rounds nationally with the media. Naeem Hines. I mean, would you even entertain that in Buffalo, or is the door closed on his career? I just look back and I feel bad for the guy, but it just speaks to just how quick these careers can kind of end here. And for Naeem Hines, I hope he gets another chance, at least to latch on somewhere.
Yeah, if you remember Naeem Hines, that exciting moment, the game following DeMar Hamlin's frightening situation in Cincinnati, the 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown, but the first one being really, I believe, the first play following that circumstance. So he definitely, we talk about Bill's lore, he definitely has his place in Bill's lore, that's for sure. But I think with Naeem Hines at this point, I'm not sure where the Bills' interest would be. Now, they are still kind of figuring out their return man situation as you watch them go through the offseason program. They were filtering guys in and out, trying to square away both punt return and kick return as the rules have changed, particularly on the kick return, so they expect that to be much more of a factor. And if you look at Naeem Hines' last year with the Bills, 16 punt returns, 19 kick returns, so they felt comfortable with him doing both. If he's healthy, he was a good soldier here. I'm not sure his off-the-field situation with the injury. I know there was some haziness with that. I'm not sure how that got worked out, but I think that if you still find yourself in need of a returner, Naeem Hines has proven to be a reliable returner. Why not bring him in, throw him a practice jersey during training camp, and then when it comes down for cut-down days, if he doesn't have anything left, then you part ways at that point. But like I said, I think the Bills have brought in a lot this offseason. I'm not sure what the interest level would be, but they've shown in the past that they can count on him to do both punt return and kick return, and I still think they're looking to sort that out as they move forward here.
Less than 2 weeks away from St. John Fisher University and Buffalo Bills training camp. Alex Brasky, Bills Digest, our guest in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Which position group are you going to be paying attention to most on day one, Alex?
Yeah, I'll be following all the reports over the wide receivers, to be quite honest with you. Who's going to lock down wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3? I know Khalil Shakir, not your prototypical wide receiver 1, but I expect him to get wide receiver 1 target share and really reception share this year, the way that he put on his show last year. I'm interested to see who's going to kind of separate themselves between Keon Coleman, Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer, and the like. I like Elijah Moore right now. What I saw from him during the offseason program, his smooth route running, you've seen him post video clips this week. You can go to his X account. He just has a way about him along the route that is just special, and it's something that the Bills do not have. And his run after the catch is mighty impressive as well with his breakaway speed. So I'm going to be watching a lot concerning Elijah Moore, and then to see if Joshua Palmer, as I mentioned earlier, can come in here and build that rapport with Josh Allen and be the player the Bills are paying him to be. Because if you look at the financials, the Bills are paying Joshua Palmer to be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, but we know their everybody eats mentality. They're going to feed the ball to whoever separates themselves, and you also have second-year Keon Coleman in the mix, and I mentioned Elijah Moore. So I think the wide receiver group, you're going to see a lot of jockeying for position, and then obviously cornerback 2 with Tre'Davious White and Max Hairston also battling it out. You have Jamarcus Ingram and Dane Jackson kind of in the background of that positional competition. And then you have the defensive line. New addition, Joey Bosa. You're likely to see him out there on the practice field for the first time after he missed the entire offseason program. And what are we going to get from Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, and all the young guys that they brought in, whether it be the draft or free agency? So there's not a lot of starting roles to be had come training camp, but there's a lot of position groups to pay attention to and a lot of depth roles that need to be figured out before this season gets underway.
Yeah, another battle I'm going to be paying attention to are who are the two safeties, and I would figure Taylor Rapp is going to have one of those locked down. But the way he plays, Alex, it's just kind of flying around there. I don't want to bank on Taylor Rapp being healthy all 17 games of the regular season. You're going to need other bodies back there, and who's going to be next to him? Is Cole Bishop ready to take that step? What about a Derek Forrest? Like, it's been a transition. It hasn't been the same since Poirier and Hyde. Poirier and Hyde the last year weren't quite the same. We should point that out too. But your thoughts on the safety position, because after all, this still is Sean McDermott's defense, and in my mind, that's kind of the backbone here of what he puts together.
Yeah, I think the Bills really, really like Taylor Rapp. And you're right, he has been in and out of the lineup at times the past 2 years with that aggressive style of play, but they need him to be healthy. He's one of the leaders in the back end, and with the inexperience likely to be beside him in Cole Bishop, with the Bills giving him every opportunity to win that starting job, the Bills need Taylor Rapp to be healthy. He's one of their top tacklers. As I mentioned, Christian Benford earlier, you might place those two side by side as the team's top open field tacklers, the way that they're able to use their body and bring down large ball carriers and tight ends and whatever in the secondary. But beside Taylor Rapp, it's going to be Cole Bishop, I think, the leader in the clubhouse at this point. The team wants him to win the job, but they do have Damar Hamlin coming back. He has that experience. And then you bring in Derek Forrest, similarly to how you brought in Mike Edwards last year. Edwards was hampered by, I believe it was a hamstring injury, and he never was able to really gain his footing with the Bills, and that led to his ultimate release. So I think they're going to give Derek Forrest even a chance to compete for this, much like cornerback too. I think that other safety role is up for grabs. The Bills want their young guys to win the jobs. They want Harrison and Cole Bishop to take the bull by the horns, contrary to public opinion. Sean McDermott wants these young guys to come in here and fit in nicely. It's just a matter of, are they comfortable with them in the system and comfortable with them really doing everything that they're asked to do as important pieces of this defense. So if you ask me right now, I think Cole Bishop will be the starter at the end of training camp, but don't count out Damar Hamlin, Derek Forrest, and perhaps even Cam Lewis, who is continues to stick around. So
Alex,
a couple of good competitions in the secondary.
There's two guys on the defensive line that I think for the last few years we've heard need to take that next step, that next level. What does the next level look like for Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau?
The next level for Greg Rousseau is a double-digit sack season. I think he needs to become a finisher for this defense. His pass rush win rate and his impact on opposing quarterbacks is undeniable. He is consistently one of the more impactful edge rushers in the league, especially when it comes to stopping the run. But the Bills need a finisher. They need somebody to get the quarterback on the ground, especially in big games in January, and Greg Rousseau needs to become that guy. I'm confident that he can transform into that guy. He's one of my top 10 most important players on Buffalo pregame, number 2, as a matter of fact. And if Joey Bosa can stay healthy alongside him, I think this could be the year we see Greg Rousseau elevate his game and reach that next level. We saw him kind of begin to do that with Von Miller, and then he left with the injury, and nothing was really the same. But I think if you get a decent running mate for Greg Rousseau, somebody who can consistently warrant attention on the other side, that will free him up a little bit. And then that will even free up Ed Oliver even more. And you saw the next level from Ed Oliver a few years ago. He just took a step back last year, really seemed to reinvigorate himself toward the end of last season once he was kind of called out onto the carpet by some of the media, came into a scrum, answered some tough questions in a very confident way and went forward and produced well toward the end of the season. So I think you've already kind of seen it from Ed Oliver. You're waiting for it from Greg Rousseau, and I think this could be the year.
Alex, I want to get your thoughts on one player in particular, because if I threw this out there to any Bills fan, give me the one player that entering camp has the biggest variance. In other words, hey, this guy could be a Pro Bowler, or he's going to be a reserve, or worse. He's somebody that was so vital to this team, and I think last year wasn't fully right. Your thoughts here on Matt Milano. 2022, The guy is in the top 100 players of the NFL. He's an all-pro. He's the best at his position in the league. And then go week 5, the London game, terrible injury. Camp last year, torn bicep. So you're making a play, mind you, against Bo Nix in a playoff win. Matt Milano, do you think he can get back to where he was, or are we going to see kind of a passing of the torch? Alex, I'm asking a question you don't know about, but I'm fascinated to know what the Bills are going to get out of Milano this year.
One of my 5 bold predictions on Buffalo pregame is that Matt Milano will play 16 regular season games. So I view Matt Milano as still somewhat of that guy in this Bills defense, and I think the Bills do, more importantly. I think they view Matt Milano as a leader on defense, somebody that his teammates look to in times of crisis to kind of center things and regroup the entire unit. Although he's not very vocal, I think his calm demeanor and what he brings to the table on a play-by-play basis when he's healthy is something that benefits the entire unit. Now, I can understand the worry at his age with his injury history and dealing with some soft tissue stuff the past couple of years, even the end of last year when he came back from the bicep injury. So I'm concerned with the health, but what I saw from him at the end of last season, I'm still confident that he could still be that guy. If he's able to have that maintenance from week to week and make sure that he's ready to go on a week-to-week basis, I still think he can have that impact. I don't think he's all-pro level anymore, but I'm not so sure the Bills need him to be. With Terrell Bernard bringing his level of play up year after year, maybe not what the Bills wanted to see last year on the whole, but you have to factor some injuries in for him as well. But I think they like his progression overall. I'm not so sure you need Matt Milano to be an all-pro. And you also have Dorian Williams waiting in the wings. So it's going to be kind of a wait and see with Milano if he can stay healthy. Expectations were high for him at the start of last year, and then that injury, that freak injury with the bicep, kind of came out of nowhere. So it'll kind of be a hold your breath for Matt Milano throughout training camp and the preseason, hoping he can get to week 1, kind of similar to Joey Bosa. But if he's not able to stand the test of time, you do have Dorian Williams, your leading tackler from a season ago, somebody who I think is taking a step forward incrementally in coverage, which I think has been his biggest weakness as a linebacker. Saw some good signs from him during the offseason program. So excited what Dorian Williams has to offer down the road, but I don't think Matt Milano's story is quite done being written.
Well, that's interesting, Alex, because you mentioned it. He's the leading tackler last season. He played a lot of football when Milano was recovering. Could you make the argument that right now Dorian Williams is the better football player over Matt Milano?
You certainly could, and I had Matt Perino on my podcast yesterday, and I think he would make that argument. I don't want to speak for him, but based on what he said, I think he was somewhat making that argument that you might be better off with Dorian Williams on the field and bringing Matt Milano in kind of sporadically and using him in situations. I'm not sure what kind of split he was referencing, but you can go back and listen to that. That's available on my feed. But yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of consideration. Dorian Williams, like I said, they drafted him, I believe, a third-round draft pick, and he's progressed well. He started very, very raw, but the athletic traits and strength have always been there. And if he can start to have things slow down for him within this Bills defensive scheme, yeah, I don't think that's a terrible question to ask, because what we saw from him last year, he could be a player waiting to take that next step in his progression. And if Matt Milano shows any sign of injury or anything like that, I think they're going to be quick to pull the trigger on Dorian Williams.
Alex, congratulations on the new pod. And it's not just Bills, certainly, or the majority of it is going to be Bills, but Buffalo pregame, you also touch on a little bit of Sabres. I mean, just big picture here, Alex. I don't get the sense that the Sabre drought is going to end this offseason. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was more confident, I think, at the start of the offseason with kind of wondering what was going to happen. But what has transpired, the J.J. Peterka trade with Michael Kesselring and I think it's James Doan, Josh Doan coming back, wasn't really impressed with the return, haven't been impressed with the other additions that they've made. And it's July 10th, and they haven't been able to trade Bo Byram for what they wanted in a top 6 forward, which they desperately need. So I have not been very high on the Sabres off season. If you asked me this before kind of the draft and everything started, I thought the pieces were in place, and if you made a couple of good moves, you could put yourself in position, but I'm still waiting for those moves to be made. And my biggest question is this new philosophy that they've kind of shifted towards, kind of started last year and really going full steam ahead with the bigger, tougher to play against. And Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams might not be here after next year. So you're installing this drastic change from what you had with Don Granato to now, and I'm not so sure it's a philosophy that has spread throughout the league that the Sabres are trying to employ. So I have a lot of questions, and I think some of those questions could be answered if they are able to unload Bo Byram for a decent return. But at this point, who are you going to get? Jake Neighbors from St. Louis? You're not going to get Kyrou with that no-trade clause. So there's really slim pickings left for Kevin Adams to find a trade partner. And I think ultimately what you're going to see is Bo Byram on the Sabres 2025.
Alex, it's great having you on with us. Before we let you go, let everybody know about the new venture, Buffalo Pregame, the Substack, the pod, everything you got going on.
Yeah, Buffalo Pregame, Substack, and podcast, free to subscribe to both. You can find me on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, or just by searching Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on Substack, or just Alex Brasky on Substack. And then, of course, Bill's Digest. Please subscribe to that. That does bear a fee, but we try to keep it low for the fans and give the people the coverage that they've come to expect since our inception years and years ago. So training camp is coming up, Bill's Digest training camp preview, and Buffalo Pregame, all sorts of goodies there as well.
Well, it's good that you're working hard, seeing that it might distract you from losing the Subway Series last weekend.
Hey, I'm on my way to New York to watch Yankees-Cubs on Saturday, so I'm going to bring the luck, and we're really going to start to turn things around. I got faith, even though our pitching is completely decimated. And if it weren't for the Subway Series and you had me on today, I could have railed against your Mets. They were really looking like the worst team in the league for a while. You're lucky we came to town.
You know, they won a few before the Yankees came to town. You know that, right? No.
I try to follow them at arm's length, Gene.
That's smart. Alex, appreciate the time, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Alex Brasky, Bill's Digest editor, and also Buffalo Pregame, the new pod for you to check out, where he talks not just Bills, but also Bills and Sabres. Love having Alex on with us to share his insight.
So focused on, my weekend, I just kind of skipped over the fact, we have Yankees-Cubs this weekend.
It's big.
It's fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's fun, yeah.
It's a fun series, and what a way to lead into the All-Star break coming up here next week. Don Stevens, the voice of the Amerks, the Hall of Famer, stops by, and we dissect the Amerks schedule, which has been released today. That's coming up here at 4:25.
Are you up for a little more Bills talk next? Because there's something that Alex mentioned there that I think you and I could debate. This seems like our experts are divided, or maybe I'm on an island here with this one guy on this team.
Mm-hmm.
So
we can dive into that. More Bills talk on the way, and plenty of time for your phone calls. If you want to engage, 585-866-4FAN is our phone number, 866-4326.
Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Don't wish your summer away, but if you're curious, the Amerks schedule is out beginning in October. There will be, in the season, 17 Friday home games, 4 Saturday home dates, and 3 Sunday afternoon home games. 4-game homestand leading into the holidays. The highlight, the Hall of Famer Don Stevens will join us a little later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Game 1 of a doubleheader in the majors. The Mets falling to the Orioles by a 3-1 score. Gunnar Henderson with the go-ahead 2-run homer in the 8th to help the Orioles win that. Cubs over the Twins 8-1. Cubs avoid the sweep. Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 home runs today in the Chicago win. He's up to 25 now on the season. Yankees tonight looking for the sweep against Seattle. The Rochester Red Wings home tonight, looking to make it 2 in a row as they take on Worcester. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL Players Association story involving the findings of allegations of collusion and not sharing the information. What is the Players Association leadership doing?
Touchdown, Josh Allen! Touchdown, Buffalo!
Mike Danger.
I think James Cook is the second best player on the Buffalo Bills roster.
Gene Battaglia.
We have a sinkhole, a fist-size sinkhole at the bottom of our driveway.
Amerks hockey lives here.
The league is going to use the ABS challenge system.
I hate it.
Is it Snafari time?
Come with me as we take Beasley for a walk through Spencerport. Devin Booker is now signed for 5 years and $316 million in Phoenix.
Are you going to do a Mount Rushmore show? I'm like, nope. Hate Mount Rushmore radio. Not our thing.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I mean, it might be some show's thing. It's not our thing. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? Nope. Not interested. Tell us you're killing time without telling us you're killing time. Mount Rushmore Radio.
Mount Rushmore radio.
All right, but we do have to get a follow-up on your sinkhole. Has part of your home fallen into the Earth's crust?
It's gotten a little bigger.
Oh, no.
So now it's like it's a little more than, and you know, 2 calls. This is not the time of year to call around to paving guys, I found out, because, you know, kind of think.
They're busy?
I don't know. Chad didn't call me back. Chad, Water Authority, what's going on?
Where you at, Chad?
Yeah, Chad. Like, tell me.
Don't you know who you're talking to? You're talking to Gene Battaglia here, pal. Chad.
Chad.
Pick up the phone if you listen to the show. We got a sinkhole emergency in Spencerport where Beasley's going to go out and we're going to lose Beasley. He's going to fall into the hole. Nobody's going to know where he went.
I need to get one of those orange cones to put over it, because I just could imagine, okay, somebody's walking along. Not that you'd really have to be walking on my property, but
You'd have to be going out of your way to trip on the sinkhole that's developed at the end of your driveway. I'm telling you, if it was a sidewalk situation, you call the town, they're over there right away. The last thing they want is somebody tripping, falling on one of their sidewalks, and then suing the town for not maintaining their sidewalks or keeping them level, making them hazardous.
I'm suing Spencerport.
I'm suing.
I'm suing
everybody.
I'm suing executive producer.
Punitive damages.
Dramatic reading
doesn't work. Doesn't hit as much. You wanted to talk about the Buffalo Bills.
Why is everybody looking past Matt Milano? Matt Milano, he's advanced. Okay, he's 30. Okay. But when he was last healthy, he was the best at his position. Why don't we think he can get back to that? His head, his instincts, Danger, are I would say are better than Dorian Williams. You pair Matt Milano with Terrell Bernard, and then you're using Dorian Williams here or there. I just don't understand this. We're ready to hand the baton. And I do think that Sean McDermott is loyal to a fault when it comes to his veterans. So I want everybody to get ready here for Matt Milano, starter at outside linebacker. And I actually think that's the right thing. I actually think, wow, wouldn't this be quite the story if this guy got back? Because when we talk about, man, what guys should step up on defense, it's a fair question. Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, who's going to be the guy? Why can't it be Milano?
Well, I think Father Time is undefeated, and that's mainly the reason why. I mean, Milano's instincts are great, but the athleticism is not what it once was. He doesn't have the speed that he once did. He's not as quick sideline to sideline, I think, as he once was with all of the injuries that have just piled up over the years. And I agree with you. I think McDermott is loyal, sometimes to a fault, to his veterans. And Milano probably is your week 1 starter, even though Dorian Williams right now might be the better football player.
I'm not buying that. See, okay, this is a camp question. And there was one sequence last year, Milano's out on the field, and you can see him testing his leg a little bit.
Yep.
And then they go back to the Bills portion, and it's closed off to the media, and like we hear something about Matt Milano. Oh my gosh, torn bicep.
That's right.
So last year, in my mind, a complete washout. So it's really been 2 years that we haven't seen this guy.
Yep. And in that time, all Dorian Williams has done is lead the Bills in tackles.
Misleading. Here's why. Because you didn't have Matt Milano. Okay, not misleading from the fact that he's durable and he's always available, but Bernard missed time and Milano. If everyone is healthy this year for the Buffalo Bills, Bernard's your leading tackler.
Yeah.
That should be the plan.
Well, Milano in the offseason, I mean, this is it, right? This is his last season in Buffalo. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, and the way I phrased it to Alex, and I'm conceding a point to you, Danger, meaning when I say biggest variance, I mean, could this guy, I didn't say all pro, that would be a stretch, but could he get back to a Pro Bowl level for the Buffalo Bills? I'm curious. But the variance here being, could he lose his job? And would that be a bad thing if Dorian Williams all of a sudden, figures it all out here to become a monster?
Yeah, I would put Dorian Williams out there. I think Matt Milano's been a great Buffalo Bill. He's awesome. He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves Matt Milano. But I think right now, and we'll see it play out during training camp, there are things that Milano has mentally that Williams may not have. But there are certainly things physically that Williams has that Milano will not get back. And so we see how it plays out during camp. It's a very quietly, in my mind, it's a camp battle. But nobody's talking about it like it's a camp battle. But I do think that if Matt Milano is dinged, if Matt Milano loses a step, if he's battling something, and Dorian Williams just continues to ball, then Dorian Williams is going to be getting the majority of the snaps. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a good problem to have that you have two guys that are competent enough to play the position, that have done what they've done with their time on the field. And if one goes down, the other can step in, and it's pretty seamless. Not a lot of teams have that luxury. I worry about animosity. Is there animosity if Dorian Williams is relegated to mop-up duty, or he's not out there?
Or do they split it and just, okay, we're going to have a timeshare? And do championship teams have timeshares like that?
Well, then if that's the case and you're worried about that, then I would say it should be Williams, because Milano's gone next year anyways. Invest in Williams, knowing that you've still got another 4 or 5 seasons ahead with that guy if he has another great season for you in Buffalo this year. He is where Milano was when he first started his career. I mean, Milano, granted, was out there as a rookie, and he's a great player, great Buffalo Bill. Everybody loves him. But we have to acknowledge that this is the end. This is his last season in Buffalo. And how much are you going to see him? And does it hurt you long term if you don't get Williams more reps, if you don't get Williams out there with more frequency? Yeah, Milano probably has a better grasp on the defense. Yeah, Milano probably has better instincts. The mental part of it is more his game.
This is best shape of your lifetime.
Yeah.
If Milano comes out and looks like, wow, he's in the best shape of his life, look out, Danger. All your talk about Dorian Williams, forget it.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I guess being in good shape is one thing, but does he have the speed and quickness that we remember? Because as you were watching the end of last season, he made some plays. But it was very clear that he didn't have the athleticism that we kind of come to expect, and the injuries are mounting.
Right, and I'm willing to give him a pass because that injury from London, now it's 2 years removed, gruesome, and then the pec injury. My gosh,
Yeah.
good on him that he actually got back to that point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a warrior for getting back to that point. but I'm worried that he's going into this season held together with paper clips and bubble gum, and I don't know how much athleticism is left in his game when you're evaluating his play. He can still make plays. He made plays towards the end of last season. This is important, but Dorian Williams might be the better football player right now if you're comparing player to player. Overall, might be the better football player.
Who has the bigger ceiling?
Williams.
Milano.
What? The bigger ceiling?
Yeah, no question.
Milano's gone after this year.
Milano's gone after this year, but it's like saying James Cook is gone after this year. Like James Cook, you're going to play him as much as you can. I'm saying Matt Milano, I believe, has the ability to get to a Pro Bowl level. Not all pro. I'm going to stop a little short of the pin on that.
Yeah.
Are you willing to say that about
No, here's what I'll say. Knowing that it is his last season, likely his last season in Buffalo, far be it from the Bills to not grind him to a pulp and drive him into the ground. Like, they could do that.
This is where, this is why I brought it up, because you and I have a different opinion on this. Terrible to take 10. He might be in next week. I don't know the guy's schedule. He made a really dumb comment that he got lit up on. This is while we were gone. Like, he called Taron Johnson just a guy.
Yeah, no.
Now, I might get lit up on this one.
You think Dorian Williams is just a guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of think so.
Yeah. I don't think Dorian Williams will be what Matt Milano was, but I think Dorian Williams right now might be the better football player. If that makes sense. You can't take away what Matt Milano was. All pro, great player, great Buffalo Bill, warrior. So I don't know that Dorian Williams will ever play at that level or have a season where he's at that level that Matt Milano was. But I think right now he might be the better option.
Part of the key here, too, is can you keep Bernard healthy?
Sure.
That's big, because when I'm waxing poetic about Matt Milano and thinking about his plays, he did that next to a knucklehead, the overrated Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there were games when you could watch the film where he's lining up Edmonds, telling him where
But it's
to be.
also fair to think that last season, Bernard took a step back. Injuries, but also just overall play. Made a big play when you needed him to in the divisional round. Big play. But Bernard overall last season was down from the year before.
I think that was injuries like from the get-go. Week 2 in Miami.
Yeah.
Comes back against the Texans, picks off C.J. Stroud. Just a great read on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. And also interesting to know that this is a conversation going into training camp, which, by the way, now less than 2 weeks away at St. John Fisher University. Nobody's going to call it a camp battle. Nobody's going to say there's a camp battle at linebacker. But, man, if you're like me, I love linebackers. I love linebacker play.
Okay, we're calling it a camp battle.
Yeah.
Let's see if others will follow on this, because both these guys you want on the roster,
yeah.
I think both these guys will coexist. There's not going to be any locker room problem. I'd love to get Matt Milano's thoughts and invite him on here on the show. But
he's been on our show. Didn't you get that one report out of Baltimore that he said what he said about Baltimore on our show? That didn't happen?
I must have missed that. Too.
Yeah, no. He's never spoken to anybody ever. We don't even know what Matt Milano sounds like. Matt Milano could have like Tiny Tim's voice. We have no idea. So like Saul Rosenberg. We have no idea.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester. Hey, Brad, what's going on, bud?
Hey, the curious question is how long does it truly take to come back to 100% from the injury that Milano had? Is it like what Tre'Davious White had, where it takes a full year to come back from what he had? I can concede that Dorian Williams is absolutely more athletic at this moment than Matt Milano. But if you go between the ears, Milano's head and shoulders above him. And that's what I see, and that Milano won't come off the field unless you're going to drag him off kicking and screaming if you're going to replace him with Dorian Williams.
Yeah. No, Brad, that's the debate here. And thanks for anybody who wants to weigh in on 866-4FAN. To answer your question, like, yeah, that injury he had in Jacksonville, he wasn't going to be right fully in 2024. I think we knew that.
But that doesn't go away. I mean, you could be fully recovered, but it's still there. It's still I think, like, if you were to ask me if I'm watching Matt Milano, there are going to be times during training camp where you're going to see him do what he did last year at training camp, testing out that leg. Because I don't know that you're ever 100% confident after an injury like that in whatever the injury was. And I'm not comparing myself to a professional athlete. No, far from it. But tearing my ACL screwed me up. And my left leg is weaker than my right leg. I say it out loud because I believe it to be true. And because of that, I'm cautious about it. And the mental part of it is a part that you Matt Milano mentally is probably thinking to himself, my leg isn't what it once was. I can't do a lot of the things I did when I was in my early 20s. It's a tough thing, man. It's a really tough thing.
I think that was Tre'Davious White the
Same.
1 year. Like, you're looking at the guy like, okay, he's doing all the drills and he's not on the field. Why? It's hard. Like, your brain is telling your body, do one thing, and it's not responding.
That's right. It's a challenge. It's not an easy thing to come back from. So, and Brad, what you're saying also, yeah, he's come back from these injuries, but he's also a couple of years older from the last time we saw him at his peak. And you just lose. You just lose a step. You're slower. Injuries aside, even if he didn't have the injuries, he'd be slower. He wouldn't be the same. He wouldn't be as fast as he was. He wouldn't be as impactful as he was earlier in his career.
30 feels old in this league.
Well, especially when you've had the kind of injuries that he's had, and taking the pounding. He's a warrior. He's out there, man. I mean, like, love the player. He's going to go down as one of the best Buffalo Bills at that position that we can remember, right? But I don't think it's an unfair question to say or to ask if Dorian Williams right now is the better football player. I don't think that's unfair. One of the many things we'll be paying attention to at training camp.
All right, so, because they do have to put out a depth chart. It's Milano, right?
Yeah.
So everybody will say Milano's a starter.
Yeah, and that's fine. But is it right? I don't know. McDermott, loyal to a fault sometimes with his vets. And what does it do to Dorian Williams? What is Dorian Williams thinking? How do I get on the field? Other than some guy getting injured or blowing up his leg. We'll be paying attention. We're less than 2 weeks away, man. Can't wait. Buffalo Bills training camp coming to St. John Fisher University. If you have plans to make it out to any of the practices, don't be a stranger. We're set up over there. The Pelicano Pavilion. Wave. Shoot us a wave. Say hey.
Maybe we should do
shake some hands.
We call them rejoiner. And we go back to the sports bar, to the Pelicano Pavilion. And we ask PJ to record that. The Pelicano Pavilion.
That's good. The Amerks season is upon us. We have the schedule, and they'll get underway in October. We'll dissect their opponents. We'll dissect the schedule, the ups and downs.
We didn't point this out. The Amerks had better have everything kind of locked up before we get to April. Let me explain what happens at the end of the schedule.
Okay.
This is the toughest part of their schedule. It goes right at the end. Monday, April 6th, at Cleveland. 2 days later, at Syracuse. 2 days later, at Springfield. 1 day after that, at Providence. You're home against Cleveland on the 17th, and then you go to Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and you close out on the 19th at Hershey. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 different cities in 10 days. Yeah. 7 if you want to count Rochester.
Yeah.
6 out of 7 on the road? It's brutal.
You want to be in a good position before you get to that stretch of the schedule. Well, we're looking forward to a new season for Amerks hockey, and of course we'll have Mike Leone on with us weekly throughout the course of the season. But to talk about the schedule, to break apart this schedule, with a lot of familiarity to it, obviously, you're going to see a lot of Syracuse, you're going to see a lot of Utica. Don Stevens, the voice of the Amerks, the Hall of Famer, he's stopping by the sports bar next, and we'll catch up with Don in the offseason here in the Fan Rochester.
You're listening update.
Amherst's schedule is out. A 4-game homestand leading into the holidays. That's the highlight. 17 Friday home games, 4 on a Saturday, and you get 3 Sunday afternoon tilts. The Hall of Famer Don Stevens. We'll talk some Amherst hockey coming up. Catch up with Don coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Majors, not a busy afternoon in the Majors. 2 finals. The Mets falling in Game 1 to the Orioles 3-1. Gunnar Henderson with a 2-run homer to help Baltimore win it. Cubs over the Twins 8-1. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 home runs today in the Chicago win. The Yankees tonight look for the sweep against Seattle. Rochester Red Wings are home tonight, looking to make it 2 in a row against Worcester. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get a $50 certificate for half price to Lasertron in Henrietta. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Amherst's schedule is out.
Going straight into voicemail for Don.
Oh,
Efforting.
okay. We'll see if we can get Don on the phone here to talk to the Hall of Famer, Don Stevens, voice of the Rochester Americans. Hey, look, just kind of like headlines from the schedule. There's a lot to kind of that you're familiar with in terms of the Amherst schedule year in, year out. You know, you're going to face Syracuse. You know, you're going to face Utica more than you face any other opponent. You're going to have 6 home, 6 road games against the Crunch, 5 home and 5 on the road against Utica. 8 matchups each against Belleville, Cleveland, and Laval. 4 and 4, 4 on the road, 4 at home. And then also with their divisional schedule, you can count on 3 home and 3 road games against the Toronto Marlies, including the opener at home on October 10th, the home-and-home series, part of that opening weekend. So they'll start in Rochester and move to Toronto. And then the entire Atlantic Division will come in this season as well. 4 matchups each against formidable foes from the Atlantic in Charlotte and in Hershey. So stand by for a couple of home games against the Checkers while they travel to Charlotte as well for 2 games, and a couple each against the Bears, 2 at home, 2 on the road. You'll see Rochester in Charlotte December, and also hosting the Bears, hosting Hershey for a 2-game set to close out the month of January.
Don's going to try calling us. I think he blocked us, Danger. You ever block somebody accidentally?
I don't know that I have. I mean, scam calls. Whenever I get a scam call, I try to block that. But I don't know that I've ever blocked. I don't know. I'm not the guy that blocks people on social media either. Maybe that's to my own fault. Like when I see something that I don't like, I just kind of move on. I don't block that person.
You don't block them. You just mute them.
I don't do that either.
Oh, it's wondrous, the mute button.
I don't use it. I don't use it ever.
Maybe like you're the guy who uses social media just in the right proportion. You're not on it too long for it to agitate you.
Maybe. Well, I get agitated, but I kind of take a deep breath. I'm like, yeah, I'll move on. My day is going to be fine. All right, so as we wait for Don to join us here and to break down this schedule, we could also talk to Don about the offseason up to date here with the Rochester Americans and some familiar names that could be coming back to the roster here as they get ready to hit the ice in October. Before we get to all of that, Don, Gene and I were just wondering, it's the offseason. I feel like we ask you this every offseason. What do you do in the offseason? What's your hobby? What's your passion? What are you doing to fill the time that you normally would have spent at the arena or traveling with the team?
Well, you know how Rochester seems to have 2 seasons, winter and road construction.
Yeah.
And I think I have 2 seasons, hockey season and medical procedures season. So it's just seems like one thing after another, because all these doctors haven't seen me for 6 months. They all want to see me at the same time. So it's just a lot of that, just piddling little things that have no meaning.
I mean, like Don Stevens, the guy. Are you grilling? Are you woodworking? What do you do with your time here, Don, outside of visiting the docks?
Actually, I've been watching a fair amount of golf and doing a little bit of working on my flowers, and because I grow some flowers out in front of my house in the summertime and
gardening.
And but other than that, really nothing. A couple of times seeing family. It's about it.
This will be the 70th season for the Rochester Americans, Don. And every year we get the new schedule. And I think every year we look at it and we're like, okay, the constants are there. Was there anything about this schedule that you saw and you're like, ooh, surprised by that?
Yeah, we doubled the number of games against Hershey.
Yeah, 4.
But other than that, it's about the same. So we've got, instead of 1 and 1 for 2 games against Hershey, we've got 2 home and 2 road for 4. So that's a good thing. The rest of it's all pretty much the same. The only thing, I think those 2 games were made up. There's 2 less against Utica. So there's most games are 12 against Syracuse, 10 against Utica. Then within the division, Belleville, Cleveland, Laval are 8, and Toronto is 6 games.
The thing that jumped out to me, Don, the end of the season. I mean, the fact that the row goes Cleveland, Syracuse, Springfield, Providence, Cleveland at home, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Hershey at the end. Don, you can't be chasing points, in my opinion, if you're looking at a road trip like that, which you're ending the season with.
Well, that's the other thing that surprised me a little bit was that 6 of the last 7 games were on the road, and I don't think we like to do that. But why that happened, I don't know. Maybe had to do it to placate some other teams or building availabilities or some reason. But, yeah, that surprised me a little bit.
We've got a 6-game homestand for the Amherst spanning between January, crossing into February. They're the last week of January into the first week of February. 3 against the North, 3 against the Atlantic with the busiest portion of the stretch here for the season, 15 games at the onset of the new year, stretching through February 7th. That feels like the time of the schedule here where you really want to make hay and set yourself up so you're not chasing points down the stretch there. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the real meat of the schedule is that time for January, February, and March. That's the most important time, and it seems like we always spend most of February on the road, so that's kind of good that we're not doing that as much. So the schedule overall is basically the same. It's not much different. So hopefully we can take advantage of the good times.
I do love the fact that not only you're home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving, there's a lot to like about this schedule. I'm going to point out something too, Don, and I know you're not going to go on every trip here, but the lack of, the diminished 3 and 3s. I think we only counted 2 here going Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The league's doing a much better job of that.
No, I haven't dug into it that deep yet. I only just got the schedule just a little while ago, so I haven't looked at that close. That's good. Outstanding.
Yeah, 2 3 and 3s. The first coming the end of March. The other, that final weekend of the regular season that we already discussed. Don Stevens, a Hall of Famer, voice of the Amherst, joining us here in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. The Amherst opening the season, playing half of their first 6 games in October. And on the road, all of Rochester's 9 games in the first month come against their North Division opponents. You'll have 2 against Toronto, Syracuse, and Laval. Don, this team, from the last time we saw them as the season came to an end against Laval, it seems like we have a lot of familiar faces returning. What have you heard so far about the way this roster has been constructed?
Yeah, there's some concerns, obviously, as some of the players that are still yet to be determined. For example, Yops and Murray, they're free agents. Losing some players like Clegg and Rusak and a few others that are gone. So yeah, there's concern. Some players I don't know much about that have been added in, such as Mason Gearson. Kind of, I guess, a tough guy. He gets a lot of penalty minutes, and he's coming out of Henderson in the American League. And then there's Jones, Zach Jones, spent most of the year with the Rangers and the rest of a couple of games in Hartford. And then what was the other one? There was it was Carson Meyer. Spent most of the year in San Diego in the American League. So there's a few veteran players to add into, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to see as far as young players are concerned. Didn't look like from the draft that there was really anybody that I know of that would be turning pro this year. I've always kind of looked forward to maybe the guys like Hellenius, for example, that played in Europe, and they're going to turn pro at a young age. I didn't really see that this year.
Don, you were talking right at the beginning of our interview, like how you like to garden, and I'll tell you, you're working in my yard. I remember it's a Sunday afternoon. It's Game 5. It's Rochester and Laval, and we haven't talked since then. It's just such a disappointing end. What a fun series that was, and just your thoughts on the season that just kind of wrapped up, and who knows? We might see Devin Levi starting Rochester again this season. That's yet to be determined.
Well, I think that's the way it should be. At least at the start that he should be here, and a few others. So we'll see how that goes. There wasn't. Not a whole lot's been done that I can see. There's still one major piece to the puzzle in Buffalo to be determined. That's, of course, with Byram, to see exactly where it's going to settle out. But I don't really see much movement between Rochester and Buffalo at the start of the season, at least. So might be one, maybe two moves. I don't know. I don't think that really there should be. I think that just about all of the players should at least start in Rochester. So we'll see how that goes. But it's always an interesting time to see what's going to happen. As far as the last season is concerned, I was surprised, but Laval really played to their strength and took away Rochester's strength, if you will. I thought that maybe the Amerks at the end lacked a little size and muscle, if you will, in front of our net and in front of their net. And Laval, that's exactly what their game was, and they came out on top. So what really surprised me was how they sort of folded in the next round. But it played against a pretty good team. So it was an interesting season. It didn't go, of course, the way we wanted. Disappointment in some areas, but pleased in other areas.
On Devin Levi, because statistically, you look at his numbers, you're like, wow, that's fantastic. Have we seen enough to move him up to the parent club? But then you said, Don, the way it should be, he should start this season in Rochester, and all signs and indicators are kind of pointing towards that happening. What do you think they need to see out of Devin Levi, short of winning the whole thing, before they say, yeah, he's our guy long term in Buffalo?
Well, one thing that's not going to change, they can't do anything about that, and that's his physical size. And you'll see that most of the goalies and the real successful goalies these days are on the little bigger sizes. We've had through here, such as like Allmark and UPL and some of those that are the bigger goalies. He's not. So I think that if you have a guy who's not that big, his confidence level has to be off the charts. And I think that if he starts the year here and has a tremendous start and really builds that confidence level to where he can go to Buffalo and play extremely well, I think that's what he needs. If he goes to Buffalo and struggles at the beginning, I think it's really going to hurt his career.
Don Stevens, the Hall of Fame voice of the Rochester Americans, joining us. The Amerks schedule is out. If you want to read it, amerks.com. Don, one thing, this time last year, my gosh, we didn't know anything practically about Mike Leone. Who is this guy? Really? They're bringing in a guy from junior hockey? It didn't take too long for him to kind of win us over. Your thoughts on your number one with Leone and what type of coach he is, Don?
Well, the one thing that impressed me most about him, and over the years I've seen, I couldn't even tell you, couldn't even count how many new coaches I've seen come into the professional coaching ranks, and just about all of them coming in and trying to put on a show, trying to stamp their name in the books right away instead of really learning what's going on. But Leo, I think he came in, he listened to everybody, he certainly offers opinions, but he let, for example, the assistant coaches let them do their jobs, and with the players was just very forthright and honest with them, and the same with everybody, the office staff, the media, the fans. He was just very open and honest, and wasn't on a power trip, which I was so pleased with, and that's what I really enjoyed with him. So I expect him to be a little more experienced, of course, this year. Well, actually, he'll be a lot more experienced this year, but I expect him to just build upon that excellent base that he's built so far.
The 70th anniversary season gets underway Friday, October 10th at Blue Cross Arena. Don Stevens will be on the call, the Hall of Famer, the voice of the Rochester Americans. How many of those 70 have you called now, Don?
Haven't looked at it yet. Just like I said, I just got the schedule here.
No. I'm saying
everybody else.
No. That's not what I was asking. I was asking how many years of the 70 years that the Amherst have been in existence have you been on the call?
Well, this will be my 40th.
Oof.
I guess that's a little more than half, isn't it?
This is a milestone year for you, Don.
Wow, when you put it that way, like Don has been at the mic more than half of this storied franchise history.
Yeah, the other part I just thought about is I was born long before this team started. So, oh man.
Well, I mean,
anyway.
For every time, how do you determine what you're going to do this year, Don? I mean, is it just basically how your health is? Is that the key factor here? How much how will the work divvy up between you and Andrew this year, do you think?
Just how many hours there are on the bus.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. Providence? Okay, Andrew. Let's see. Springfield? Okay, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, buddy, it's great hearing your voice.
Poor Andrew.
Poor Andrew. I mean, I know Andrew has the same zest and love for calling games the way you do, and we're lucky to have you on the call again this year for year 40, Don. That's remarkable. Congratulations on that.
Let me tell you just a short story. You talk about Andrew and his excitement. I didn't have the schedule for 15 minutes before I got a message from him wanting to know if I had determined what games we were doing this year. I sent back an expletive that can't be repeated. Good God, give me a couple of minutes here.
Can you needle him? Just say I'm taking them all, Andrew, and see if he buys it. No,
and I thought about that. I really did. I thought about just trying to pull some sort of an April 1st on him, but I don't know. I'm too old for that stuff, I guess.
Don, great hearing your voice, man. Enjoy the rest of the offseason. We're looking forward to, we're not wishing summer away, but we are looking forward to another great season of Amherst hockey, their 70th anniversary season, your 40th calling games for the franchise. Congratulations on that milestone, and we'll talk to you again real soon, pal.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to talk to you. Take care and enjoy the summer.
You got it.
Thanks, Don.
There's Don Stevens. God, 40 years.
It's jaw-dropping, right? When you put it in that perspective, because the Amerks, by the way, they put this really cool social video out celebrating 70 years, as they should. This is the cornerstone franchise, you could say Hershey too, of this league. Hey, we've been here, and we're coming back. And to me, Don is he's our soundtrack of winner. When you hear Don Stevens, all right. And then when you're really dialing into Don Stevens like I was, I'm doing yard work. Like, oh, darn. Laval scored again. You kidding me?
Yeah. All gets underway Friday, October 10th, Blue Cross Arena, Amerks.com if you want the full schedule. And, as Don alluded to, not a ton of surprises. There are a little bit more against Hershey. 4 games against Hershey this year. 4 games against Charlotte this year, which I think we did last year was the first time we did the 4 against Charlotte. So plenty of stiff competition outside of the North Division, which, of course, they will play the majority of games against. All games starting 7:05 this season, except for the 4 Saturday matchups. Those are 5:05 for 4 Saturdays, and then 3 Sunday afternoon matinees, 2 scheduled for late March, starting at 3:05.
Yeah, it's don't wish your summer away, and I say this, don't even put out there, is it October yet? No, it's not. Nope.
We got to wait.
No, this is the elite season right now, Danger.
That's right. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have more on the way next here on the Fan Rochester. Stand by.
You're listening to the The Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
When has change.org actually ever meant change? Has actual change ever come out of a petition on change.org? We were talking about it earlier. There's a petition to remove NFLPA executive director. Am I sliding his name?
Lloyd Howell.
Lloyd Howell. Thank you, Gene. Brain fart. So this petition is pretty. It's pretty raw. Lloyd Howell has failed on every measure, the petition reads. His continued leadership threatens the union's credibility, wastes player resources, and compromises the NFLPA's ability to effectively advocate for NFL players. You can reach out to us on X at the Fan Rochester. One of our regulars, Mike, Sodas Bay. You are correct about stupid petitions on change.org. I'm going to create one to have Mike Danger change his radio name to Chuck Muncie.
With Muncie, and I like that.
Yeah.
Mike, I just went to change.org. You didn't do that yet. You got to get on that because I just typed in Chuck Muncie and it just came up with Chuck E. Cheese.
What's the change.org petition for Chuck E. Cheese?
Reinstate Chuck and the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese's permanently. 15 signatures.
Wait a minute.
Like
you mean to tell me if I went into Chuck E. Cheese today that we wouldn't have the animatronic show?
That's correct.
What's inside there other than video games and a ball pit and bounce house? What are we talking about? You got to have the creepy animatronic performance.
There's another one. North Carolina Chuck E. Cheese animatronics is being destroyed. 454 signatures. Make magic. Without it, you're just another pizza place.
If you call that pizza.
No. It's like I didn't even know Chuck E. Cheese doesn't have the animatronics anymore. So that's where
that's how old we are. The Chuck E. Cheese animatronics have completely
bring back edible crayons is a change.org one. Crayons in the early 2000s were known for their impeccable flavor and texture.
Don't eat crayons.
13 signatures.
Don't eat crayons.
This is like, honestly, this is where we are. Yes, it's a story that, okay, we should look at this, but for Florio to put out, there's a petition going on in change.org that the NFLPA had should step down. Oh, really? He's going to look at, they're right. I'll step down.
Well, the change.org petition may be a complete zero, but what they're saying is not a complete zero. Like, this guy needs to go. There's no way. If he doesn't lose his position, if he doesn't lose his job, isn't it just clear that the NFL is actually in cahoots with the NFLPA? Because this guy sure seems like a plant by the NFL. He seems like a guy that's in there to do the NFL's bidding, not represent the players, but do the NFL's bidding. The big strike on Howell is he works. It's been discovered he works as a part-time consultant for the private equity fund that is one of the companies buying minority interests in NFL teams. So he works for potential owners of NFL teams, yet he's supposed to represent the players. And make no bones about it. I mean, this is a position that is adversarial from the get-go. But you're coming in and you're saying, yeah, I have a side hustle where I'm working with potential NFL owners. Yeah, this guy's toast. You don't need a change.org.
Disclose all your things, right?
Yeah. You don't need a change.org petition to get this guy out. He needs to go if you're serious about your union. And I think the players are pretty serious about their union. But this is not the leadership they're looking for. And to an extent, it was J.C. Tretter's involvement in all this as well. Former player, former Cleveland Brown. He's been a constant through the transition as well. This is just a sloppy union right now. And change.org, petition or not, it feels as if Howell's tenure could be coming to an end.
I should know this. Who's the Bills player rep?
Is it Dawkins?
It might be. Like, whoever it is should be, like, on the warpath, I would think. All these players in this union.
Yeah, this is not a great look. And, Mike, I appreciate it, but, I've been Mike Danger for a long, long time, dating back to me as a teenager. So I don't know that the radio name change is in the cards for me now.
Do you ever see yourself, and for the record, what do I call Mike Danger when he's off the air? Mike Danger.
I had a coworker call me Chris the other day, and it threw me for a loop.
Who?
Out-of-market coworker.
Oh, all right.
And when they said it, I'm like, did I just hear you right? Oh, okay. I'll answer to both, but it's very rare.
No, when I was talking to your wife one time, she was Chris. I'm like, who? Oh, your husband. That's
right.
That guy. Yeah.
Was she speaking ill of me at the time that she brought up my real name?
Well, I mean, you're still going.
Not much I can do.
Which it's 25 coming up, isn't it?
No. We're still a couple years away from 25.
Oh, all right.
We'll be. This year is 23. Yeah, this year is 23. Famously, I think you and I have this right around the same. we got married. I was the jackhole that scheduled a wedding for Labor Day weekend. I think you did the same thing, did you not?
But I did it because, for my buddies coming into town,
I did the same thing.
It was.
Well, I'm going to hijack your Labor Day weekend and make it easy for you to travel here because it's a Labor Day weekend. You don't have to take time off of work, but also
you don't have an excuse. That's you don't
also it's Labor Day weekend. Would you rather be, if you're from Minnesota, like a lot of my friends are, would you rather be on the lake one last time before? Or would you rather come to Rochester, New York and come to my wedding?
That's the perspective. Because I look at Labor Day weekend here unless you have a property, how many people actually go away? And maybe it's because I had kids or whatever, but you're hunkering down, you're getting ready for the school year, I don't know, that doesn't seem like the ideal time to go on vacation, Labor Day weekend.
We got to get a fantasy draft date on the books here before we get to Labor Day weekend as well. We got to avoid our anniversaries. We're going to make a pact. We're avoiding our anniversaries this year for any and all fantasy football drafts. Don't even want to have that conversation. Yeah, I know it's our anniversary, honey, but it's a fantasy football season. I mean, what do you want me to? It doesn't go over well in my house.
Don't you call it single wife season?
Doesn't go does not go well. Does not go well in the house.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Come back. Happy hour is next. We have plenty of time for your calls if you want to join us. Pull up a stool. 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The Amherst schedule is out. Some of the highlights: the team at home the Wednesday before and the Friday after Thanksgiving. There's a 4-game homestand leading into the holidays as well. 17 Friday games, 4 Saturday games, and 3 Sunday afternoon dates as well. Game 1 of a doubleheader, and the Mets fall to the Orioles 3-1. Gunnar Henderson with a 2-run homer for Baltimore in the 8th inning to win it. Cubs over the Twins 8-1. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 home runs today in the Chicago win. He's up to 25 on the season. The Yankees tonight looking for the sweep against Seattle. Yankees will be playing the Cubs tomorrow. Rochester Red Wings, beautiful night for a ball game. Looking to make it 2 in a row against Worcester. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get a $50 certificate for half price. The Lasertron in Henrietta. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL Players Association story involving the findings of allegations of collusion and not sharing the information. What is the Players Association leadership doing?
Touchdown, Josh Allen! Touchdown, Buffalo!
Mike Danger.
I think James Cook is the second best player on the Buffalo Bills roster.
Gene Battaglia.
We have a sinkhole, a fist-size sinkhole at the bottom of our driveway.
Amherst hockey lives here.
The league is going to use the ABS challenge system.
I hate it.
Is it Snafari time?
Come with me as we take Beasley for a walk through Spencerport. Devin Booker's now signed for 5 years and $316 million in Phoenix.
Are you going to do a Mount Rushmore show? I'm like, nope. Hate Mount Rushmore radio. Not our thing.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar. Glad you're with us. Thanks for listening and making us part of your afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can find us on all of those platforms. You can watch us on YouTube or on Twitch. Our channel's The Fan Rochester. You can always go back and listen to any or watch any part of the show that you may have missed on our YouTube channel. Listen along in the free-to-download Odyssey app. I'm Danger, and that's Battaglia.
Usually it's you because, well, for folks that don't know, Mike Danger's, big regional manager here at Odyssey, and you're going to New Orleans, you're going to Virginia.
Virginia Beach next Monday and Tuesday, Gino. Sadly, I will not be in the sports bar.
Well, we'll make it work. We always somehow do.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually me tomorrow. I'm going to Kansas City, but this is kind of for pleasure. But I'm on the clock, so to speak. I'll be working from 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. Alex Gold, Cody and Gold will be joining us, and then Jay Binkley. Here's the rules. Okay, let's kind of clear this up right in advance because you and I do not disparage Patrick Mahomes. We don't disparage the Chiefs. We can wonder, okay, is this the year the Chiefs take a step back? But Binkley has a way of kind of twisting it a little bit. Maybe it's other shows, maybe it's something else, but I'm not going to fall into his trap tomorrow.
Well, what was it? What year was it where he was saying that everybody was down on the Chiefs, but it wasn't. Nobody was saying that the Chiefs were down. Nobody. It was a made up. Like bulletin board
material. It was
material.
the year after they lost Tyreek Hill in free agency. And going into it looked like, logically, okay, this Chiefs team could take a step back. They won the Super Bowl. They're not going to this year. But
no, I think it was last year. I think last year there was a storyline or a narrative that the Chiefs took a step back, or the Chiefs, Mahomes isn't Mahomes, or Kelsey isn't Kelsey. Whatever it was completely like manufactured. But Binkley and others in Kansas City, this is a chip on their shoulder. It became bulletin board material. And, once again, sadly, they were right. They got to the Super Bowl. They got pummeled in the Super Bowl. But, Binkley, I know he's become like sports bar public enemy number one because he's such a Chiefs guy. But he's smart. He's not wrong when he talks about the Chiefs.
No.
There's a little pom-pom waving there, but it's not to the point where it's like, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's fairly objective, and For what it's worth, I never hear him say anything bad about the Bills other than the Bills can't get over on the Chiefs. Fact.
What he tells me is it's not Buffalo as a rival. They look at Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, the players over the years, they run their mouth a little bit when it comes to the Chiefs. And Cincinnati did the one thing Buffalo couldn't do, that is win a playoff game in Arrowhead.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because going into this season, expectations are going to be as high as they've ever been for the Buffalo Bills. You got close again last year, fell just short. And I think you have said this. I've heard others say it, like, well, the key for this season is get that first-round bye. That's the one thing they haven't done.
They haven't done, because this time last year, we're talking about the division. Legitimate conversation about the division. You had Mike Clay picking the Jets to win the Super Bowl. Is anybody not picking Buffalo to win the division this year? Each of these three teams, these competitors, are in some sort of stage of rebuild. And I'd argue that the closest is actually the Patriots with a second-year quarterback. Okay, we're going to sit up straight. The Jets, hey, maybe their new head coach will do something. Okay, Miami, you should have blown it up. Good luck with that. The next thing, Danger, is win every game. Get the 1 seed. Yes, the Buffalo Bills have lost at home in the playoffs to Cincinnati. Yes, the Buffalo Bills have lost at home in the playoffs to Kansas City. But you know what? Before that Kansas City lost, Danger, they had to play an extra game against the Steelers because they were the 2 seed. They weren't the 1 seed.
Yeah. So the 1 seed is the thing that's evaded them through this era of Bills football. And going into the season, we all believe that that's the thing that they need to get, that the regular season matters. It's not enough to just win the division. You could say, "Whoa, we just want to get into the dance, and we know if we get into the..." No. We want the 1 seed. We want to see what this team looks like with that extra week of rest when you need it most at the end of the season, and what it means to have home field throughout. I'm with it, but I'm still hesitant to say that even with that, the Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't know that the 1 seed is achievable based on the history of Sean McDermott during the regular season. The games where it's like, what the hell happened there? You lost. It's one thing to lose to Baltimore in the regular season the way they did last year. That was just a good old-fashioned butt whipping. But the games where you're scratching your head going, you lost that game because of what? Mismanagement here?
Oh, it's the Houston game last year. The Houston game, like, where you have the ball and then 3 passes, all incomplete, the play calling, and then you give them that to me is the one. Many missteps. We can go over the whole list there. Are we going to say that McDermott can take the Andy Reid curve here? Because if you talk to Eagle fans right at the end of that, right at the top of the list, Mike Catalana, like, he had worn out his welcome in Philadelphia. And one of the reasons was kind of the game management. Andy Reid, fantastic Monday through Saturday, but it was a little weird on Sundays, and they could never get over the hump. They didn't even they got to 1 Super Bowl out of 4. Well, for Sean McDermott, Andy Reid figured it out. Can Sean McDermott do the same here?
When you look at the Bills' schedule, and I think we've done a pretty good job from the time it was released to where we are now here, less than 2 weeks away from the start of training camp, there's a lot of upside on this schedule. A lot of upside for the Bills. You could very easily see this being a 13, 14-win team, given how it all lays out and what you have in front of you. Is 13 wins enough to get the 1 seed this year? 13-4.
No.
You got to get 14.
You got to get 14. And the reason it's not, I don't know necessarily it's Kansas City. I think it's Baltimore.
14, 15 wins gets you the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Boy, the AFC is tight, man. And one of the things I'm excited to talk about tomorrow when you're in Kansas City with the guys, the rest of the AFC West. The Raiders aside, they're going to be new look. Ashton Genty, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll.
Fun.
Kind of don't know what to expect out of the Raiders, right? But yes, fun I think is fair. But we do know what to expect out of the Broncos with Sean Payton. We do kind of know what to expect out of the Chargers with Harbaugh and the pieces that they have and the pieces that are returning. What do those teams look like, and will they be able to further challenge the Chiefs? Last year, the gap got a little bit more narrow will it continue to kind of squeeze the Chiefs here in the West? I want to know about the rest of the division as well.
Yeah, I think that Denver is a very scary team, and the Chargers are a very scary team. Like, we could talk about Baltimore and certainly Cincinnati, but honestly,
you need a little help to get
yeah.
the 14, 15 wins,
Yeah.
Gino. That's if you want the 1 seed, you need a little help from the rest of the conference. And will the West tighten up to the point where the Chiefs aren't even in the picture for a 1 seed, where they're flirting around with potentially a wild card?
It's Baltimore. That's
Baltimore's the team.
Baltimore's the team. That's why week 1. Oh, yes. Oh, like week 1 last year, Baltimore, Kansas City. Who were we talking to yesterday? It was PJ Glasser yesterday. Like, you made the argument like that might have been the best game from a physical standpoint that Chiefs, and we came in week 1. That's not great for Buffalo. You're going to play a physical game in week 1.
Well, you better be up to the task because Baltimore is going to play it whether you want to or not, and they're going to come in pissed. They're going to come in with a massive chip on their shoulder. So you better be ready for that physicality. And by the way, good that it's week 1. Start off the season and know exactly where you stand against one of your chief rivals in the AFC. If you want that 1 seed, you're going to have to get past Baltimore. You're going to have to get past Kansas City. And, yeah, that Chiefs-Ravens game week 1 last year, that was I just remember watching and going, my God, they're killing each other in this game. I loved it. It was a great game. Came down to a toenail, but it was a great game, and it was physical. So they need to be ready for that week 1, and that sets a tone for the rest of the year. Get out of that first week healthy, but realize you're not going to come out of that game 100%. You're getting beat up in that game. Everybody's getting beat up in that game. Make it hard for everybody. But then after that, you've got a pretty cake schedule. 14 wins, 15 wins feels achievable this year. Get that 1 seed. If you get the 1 seed, here we are. We're in uncharted territory. Can Josh Allen and the Bills do what they haven't been able to do yet? Get over the hump and make it to a Super Bowl. Potentially win a Super Bowl. I'm excited for you, man. That's a fun trip.
It's going to be interesting. 2 games I am taking in, thank you, Odyssey, Royals-Mets.
We get the good seats, too, I think.
Yeah, this is Diamond Club.
Mm-hmm.
And what Binkley's telling me is that you have waiter service there.
Yes.
So, all right. Did you have that at City? Or?
Yeah. We had good seats. We were third baseline, and you go up a few steps in the bar, and everything is in there, and you don't have to worry about. You could do it from your phone, and people will bring you whatever you want to bring you. And it was awesome. It was good. Private bathrooms, right? You're not going where the peasantry is going. You got your private. Your bathroom's there next to the bar, and everything's good.
I'm, the best barbecue here in Rochester. Good Smoke Barbecue.
Hands down.
Hands down. So I'm going to Kansas City to sample their fare. What Binkley is telling me, this place in Kansas. Never been to Kansas, much less to Missouri. So, like, some of the best barbecue is actually not in a city of right there.
I remember having good barbecue the last time I visited my old man, rest in peace, in Kansas. He took me to a barbecue spot. It was a hole in the wall. It was like a shack, but the barbecue was outstanding. So I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I don't know it'll hold up to Good Smoke because those are our guys and they do great work. But you're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. That's good stuff, man. And of course, then the Mets and the Royals and the 10-year anniversary of the Royals World Series win over the Mets. I still can't believe that. When you think about it 10 years after the fact, name one player from that Royals roster.
I gotta look it up. I can name, let's see here. Lorenzo Cain's your center fielder. Mike Moustakas is your third baseman.
Ned Yost was the manager.
Royals 2015
Crazy.
roster. Yeah, honestly, like I'm trying to.
Just a team of guys that just gelled.
Yeah, Salvador Perez was the catcher.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Like all these guys are going to show up and they're going to get cheered and they're going to rile everybody up. My gosh, who's even in the rotation, Danger? Ben Zobrist was on that team.
That's right. That's right, because he went to the Cubs the next year. That's right.
Eric Hosmer. Okay, he was your first baseman.
Zobrist, low-key, glue guy. Zobrist is a guy that just got it done. He got it done in Kansas City, goes to Chicago, gets it done with the Cubs. Zobrist, silent MVP.
Okay. That's how you know Ben Zobrist? How do I remember Ben Zobrist? I feel sorry for Ben Zobrist. You don't know this story?
I know there's a Ben Zobrist story.
His wife left him for his pastor.
Yeah.
And the pastor, this was going on while he was going around.
Yeah. Well, I want to feel sorry for Ben Zobrist, but I also feel like a lot of professional athletes probably have something going on the side. That being faithful to their partner isn't necessarily number one on their list of priorities.
Johnny Cueto, they picked up. Okay, he was part of that. Edison Volquez, Jeremy Guthrie. Who the heck are these guys? How do they win a World Series?
You're going to see
this comes up. I'm going to be like, Bink, you shouldn't even celebrate this. Pretend like they might take it back at some point. Realize, no, this was a mistake.
It's a World Series under protest. This is not a roster that's World Series worthy. We're protesting the championship. That's tomorrow on The Fan Rochester. Fun show this afternoon. Don Stevens joined us last hour. We dissected the Amerks schedule. It's here. We're not wishing summer away. We'll say it over and over and over again because we know it's the middle of July and we know how long the winters are here. But Amerks season is upon us, and we know now when the season starts, not only when the season starts, but who they'll be playing, how often they'll be playing, and how it all shakes out.
It's not to the level of, okay, I like imagining how a football season would go, but if I told you, hey, the Amerks are going to be home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Friday after, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, definitely I'm on board for that. Hey, the Amerks, they begin a 4-game homestand in December, 17th, 19th, back that up, the 13th, 17th, 19th, and then the 27th. Okay, I like that. Here's what I don't like. 6 of the last 7 on the road, all in different cities, basically every other day. This is a team, the Amerks, you better lock your playoff positioning up early because I don't care how these other teams are going to fare. That's very taxing. By the way, they only have 2 3-3 weekends. The last one coming, final 3 games of the season.
If you were curious about the level of competition that they'll be facing here, of course they're going to play their North Division rivals the most, but there are a couple of extra games here against the Hershey Bears on this schedule. They get Charlotte 4 times. They get Hershey 4 times this upcoming season. 2 there, 2 at Blue Cross Arena.
Yeah, the Blue Cross game's Wednesday the 28th, Friday the 30th. I like that. That's okay. And I don't have any reason to doubt that Hershey, they didn't get to the final. They didn't win the cup this year. Oops. Yeah, they'll be back. You do have the 2 games at one flight down to Charlotte. That'll be first week in December. So pretty decent schedule. I mean, there's not many gripes on this. We had Don Stevens, voice of the Rochester Americans. If you missed that, it's in the Odyssey app. Catch it wherever you find your
wherever you get your podcasts. You can find all of our guest appearances. That includes Spotify. That includes Apple Podcasts. Alex Brasky stopped by in the 3 o'clock hour as well. We asked him, is James Cook the second best Buffalo Bill?
Right off the bat, it's a nuanced conversation, right?
Well, if you say who's the second best player on the team, that's different than saying who's the second most important player on the team.
It's second most important, second most valuable.
Sure.
There's different ways to qualify it.
Sure.
It just brings the point that this is different. As far as talented players, you're going to watch walk out the door because there's only so many guys you can pay. If you want to come at me with Tremaine Edmonds, I'm going to say, no, I'm sorry. If you want to say Diggs, no, that there were other reasons, and it actually probably made the chemistry better on the team last year now that you look back. This would be the one if James Cook walks out the door because, yes, running backs are a short lifespan. There's no reason to think that James Cook can't play this way for another 3-4 years. However, the next contract isn't going to be 3 or 4 years. It's going to be top dollar, and it's going to be, it's going to be a contract where the bonus is going to be so high you're going to have to spread it over 5.
And we also kind of inadvertently fell into a debate over linebacker. We identified what we think is going to be a camp battle: Matt Milano, Dorian Williams.
And you're of the belief that Dorian Williams is the better player
today.
This is my statement on Matt Milano. There's no bigger player on the Buffalo Bills with a wider variance this year. Matt Milano, if healthy, Pro Bowler. There's no question. Oh, but he's lost a step. Well, if healthy, I don't have any reason to think that his smarts and everything else that you develop in this league, that he will make plays for this team once again. However, two major injuries. If you get another one on that, is Matt Milano somebody who's now a reserve? Does Dorian Williams beat him out? It's a camp battle. And if there's one veteran I'm watching on this team, we will always talk about the wide receivers. Fans will always fixate on the wide receivers. Elijah Moore video, people are very excited about today, and I get that. I'm looking at Matt Milano. I'm looking at how is he testing that leg that was major injury back from 2023.
If you missed Brasky's conversation with us, again, you can find that wherever you get your podcast. Search out the Sports Bar on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. While we're talking about the fall, while we're talking about Amherst season, again, we're not wishing away summer, but just a reminder here, the Haunted Hayrides of Greater Rochester are coming back, Gino. And right now, they're hiring. Be a part of their world-famous Boo Crew. Paid roles for actors, narrators, non-scary jobs as well. If you like scaring people during the Halloween season, get paid for it as well. Apply now at hauntedhayridesrochester.com.
Good to see events coming back.
Like it.
Yeah.
Let's get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, things we'll talk about here in the Sports Bar as we haven't even gotten to Giannis yet, Danger.
It's not a failure.
Yeah, this is a quote that we can kind of dive into here. One of the most popular figures in the LPGA. Very scary moment today. And we'll go over that as well. And does Tom Brady have a new fix here? Yeah, this segment also has a lot of gossip in it, so we got that.
Okay, a round of shots on the way. Before we get to last call, which is your opportunity to have the final word in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Call us anytime, 585-866-4326, 866-4FAN.
Amerks schedule is out. 4-game homestand leading into the holidays. They're home the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving. 17 Friday home games in all, 4 Saturday home dates, and 3 Sunday matinees. Major leagues, not a lot happening in the majors. There is a doubleheader down in Baltimore where the Orioles win Game 1 3-1 over the Mets. Mets in Game 2 are up in the second inning by a 2-0 score. Cubs over the Twins 8-1. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 home runs today in the Chicago win. He's up to 25 on the season. Yankees tonight looking for the sweep against Seattle. Beautiful night for a ball game. The Rochester Red Wings looking to make it 2 in a row as Worcester is the opponent. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
Thank you, buddy, for putting that on.
Oh, you know what? I just realized, the Mets are on right now. Game 2 of a doubleheader. Let's see if they can even up that doubleheader against the Orioles here. Got to put the game on in the studio so Gene can be distracted for the last half hour.
I was so in the zone today with work and my other job that had no idea, and then I come in, and Dan is one of those guys where
Dan DeLorean.
Yeah, just like, oh, no, they blew it today. Yep, they were up 1-0 in the 8th. They lost. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like,
Sky's always falling.
Yeah.
Never good enough. So we'll monitor the Mets here as they're in Game 2 of their doubleheader against the Orioles. It is time for a round of shots now in the sports bar.
This was a big part, if you listen to Writer Than You today, Bill Writer's show here today on The Fan, interpreting what Giannis Antetokounmpo had to say. When asked if he'll stay in Milwaukee, we'll see. Probably, I love Milwaukee. Milwaukee finished 5th in the East last year, not making it out of the first round. Giannis drafted by the Bucks back in 2013.
All right, so what was Ryder's take? Because I have a couple of thoughts.
Ryder's take was this. If your wife says, we'll see, or probably, you're in trouble. Like, there's no, like that, and if you hear the quote, it sounds like he's just trying to be diplomatic here.
I think Giannis, because English is kind of like it's his language, but it's not his first language. So like you can tell I think tone gets misinterpreted with him very frequently. I think his intentions might be in the right place. I don't think he's necessarily a killer. I think he's kind of soft mentally, but I think things get misinterpreted. And I think what he's saying here is that, yeah, he's probably going to be a Milwaukee Buck next year. Not that he doesn't want to leave, but he just has a hard time articulating. When somebody asks him a pointed question, was the season a failure? Will you be a Milwaukee Bucks year? That's where I think he struggles with tone, with interpretation, and with really saying what he needs to say the right way. Because the whole thing from years ago with, you got bounced by an 8 seed. Was this season a failure? His reaction to that, while it drew praise from some, to me was like, no, you can't say it was anything but a failure. Yeah, it was a failure, but we're going to be better for it. We're going to get better, and next year we're going to be back, and we promise that we're going to be a better team next year. That's how you answer that. How do you answer the question, will you be in Milwaukee next year? I mean, without giving anything away, you kind of have to say, hey, look, there's a lot of things in play. I'm a Milwaukee Buck right now. I love being in the city. And while I'm here, I'm committed to getting us a championship. Done, right?
Yeah, and it's almost like we'll see properly, and he's covering up by saying, I love Milwaukee. I love you fans. Yeah.
Right. I think he struggles. I think he doesn't really know how to say or articulate what he needs to say. He knows what he needs to say. He just can't articulate it the way a lot of players can. And again, we talked about this earlier. If I heard from Giannis less, it wouldn't decrease my enjoyment of watching the NBA. Like, I don't know that I necessarily need to hear from every player or every coach all the time. I'll be okay. Juan Soto talking about missing the All-Star break, missing the All-Star game. If I didn't hear that quote, it wouldn't make me think any less or more of Juan Soto as a player or as a baseball. I just want to enjoy the games. I mean, like, it's gotten to the point where we're spending so much time dissecting the words of these players.
Yeah.
And they're put in these situations that are less than favorable, and a lot of them just aren't good with the media. They're just not good with answering questions.
Well, same could be said for a coach or a manager,
Same.
too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another name has been added to Monday's home run derby, Athletics third baseman Brett Rooker.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, he's playing in that smaller ballpark, so.
Oh, who cares?
The rest of the field, you've got, the hometown favorite, Ronald Acuna Jr., you've got Byron Buxton, you've got Junior Caminero from Tampa, O'Neal Cruz from Pittsburgh, Seattle's Cal Riley, okay, that's a name, and one of our guys, James Wood, former Rochester Red Wing. Some good young players, but can we be honest? Is there anyone that's going to get you to actually tune in? They still have one name yet to be announced.
I like that they got a couple of former Red Wings in there with Buxton and Wood. I'm curious as to what the odds would be for the home run derby right now. Is it Acuna?
Oh, it's Cal Riley.
Riley's the
big dumper.
He's Riley's the favorite. I like Acuna at home though. It's his home porch. I mean, he could be able to. I don't know.
Well, without we're used to now having Pete Alonso. You've had Shohei, you've had Aaron Judge. How will this look? You've had Schwarber. You've had guys from
we're pulling for Wood, right?
Yes,
we're pulling for Wood,
undoubtedly. The one guy who's been on our show out of that list.
We like that. James Wood, home run derby champion. Sounds good.
Scary moment today from one of the bigger characters on the LPGA Tour, Charlie Hull, known with the nickname Smokin' Charlie Hull because, she chokes down darts right on the course there. Hull collapsed on the first tee this morning. This before she shot. After a 15-minute delay, groups were allowed to play through while medics tended to Hull. She was carted off on a flatbed. Officials said that she had been battling a virus.
Okay.
Not good.
Maybe that's the catalyst to quit smoking. We'll see.
You would think. But maybe. She is English, so different.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of that over there, by the way?
Smokers?
Yeah, smokers in Europe.
Everywhere,
yeah.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Have you not read on what that does to you?
No, everywhere. And the thing is, all older people. Not so much younger people that I saw, just all older people still smoking everywhere. It was... That was one thing, and then the graffiti is the other thing. If you go around Europe and you travel different cities and you see different cities, like in Madrid and in the cities I was in Italy, the towns I went through, graffiti everywhere. Everywhere.
So we're a European city in Rochester then?
More than what we have, pal.
Oh, really?
Way more than what we have. A staggering amount. Imagine driving on 390 and the sound barricades that they have up. Imagine if all of those were just covered in graffiti.
Don't give anyone
covered
ideas.
In street art. That's what I'm talking about, though. It's staggering how much more graffiti they have there than we have here. I'm not trying to give anybody ideas. That was one thing that I noticed. And then, yes, in Europe, they didn't get the memo about smoking. They're all smoking. There's so much smoking going on.
That could be just a PSA. Hey, give up smoking, Europe, and there's Charlie Hull tipping over on the first tee. It's the season of college football media days, Danger.
All
this
right.
is where coaches come in front of a podium and they get everybody riled up. Their fan base is excited. Who's had the best take so far? Well, one name shouldn't be a surprise. How about Coach Prime? Deion Sanders making a case that college football should adopt something they have in the NFL. A salary cap. A salary cap in college football would make everything more competitive. Coach, it's a good idea, but who exactly is going to enforce that? The NCAA? Somebody else?
The schools?
Yeah.
It's got to be the schools, right? But who's enforcing the schools, making sure that they're complying within the salary cap?
Forget it, yeah.
Right. I mean, I hear what he's saying, and it is out of control, and it's going to continue to be out of control, but nobody has an answer, man. It's funny. You talk to guys. We talked to Adam Terry early in the week, and kind of rolling his eyes when where are we at with the state of college athletics? It's still the wild, wild west. Nobody's got a solution. Nobody's got a plan. Nobody's got anything to say. This is a fair way for everybody to get the best out of this situation. And so we might still have a few more years of this kind of imbalance between the schools with the big collectives and the schools like Syracuse that are just starting to build it up, trying to get bigger.
Yeah, you're going to have some new players like in men's college basketball, you're going to have BYU in the Final Four this year. I mean, there's just such the money out there that is flowing through the. There's other programs too, like Tennessee, for example, where they're actually when you go to a game here, you go to a Red Wing game. You get, the stadium fee, the county, they're putting out, you don't even realize that they put it on there, but you're not paying any attention. That's going to be the same thing in Tennessee, except that's not going to the county or built the stadium. That's going to the collective. That's going to the players. Hey, sorry, you're helping to pay for this, not just the ticket. But
yeah, it's crazy.
From the gossip pages today, TMZ is reporting that Tom Brady and Sofia Vergara are hanging out, but not dating. Sofia Vergara. There's another gossip site that is calling this a summer fling. Brady and Vergara hanging out on a super yacht with, amongst others, Martha Stewart, Kendall Jenner, Naomi Campbell, and Kate Hudson.
Okay. Couldn't be either of us. Would you? When would you ever find just a normal person on a super yacht? It's the elite. It's the super wealthy. It's the aliens. He is an alien. He is absolutely an alien, and I'm a little upset because now he's dragging my Colombian butterfly Sophia along with him for the ride, trying to turn her into an alien.
Okay, so you are familiar with Sofia Vergara.
Modern Family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Modern Family in my house is gospel. My daughters know word for word, line for line. They've watched every episode of that series to the point where they've got it down. They quote lines all the time, and it's almost like one inside joke after the other with Modern Family in my family and my daughters. So they're very familiar with Gloria. You're looking up her age?
Yeah. I did you know how old she is?
Got to be 50.
She's 53.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
Yeah. Brady's how old now?
No, he's not 50.
No.
But that's 53. My gosh.
That's Sofia Vergara, man. Yeah. Yeah. Brady, hands off. Hands off. Don't drag her along to your super yachts with Martha Stewart and Kendall Jenner. Keep her away from the Kardashians. Keep her away from the aliens.
Okay, so I always make the joke with you that you have a type. Tom Brady has a type. You're from South America, right?
Yeah, I guess
that's
so.
His type, yeah.
I guess so. Let's get to last call next on the Fad Rochester. You can have the final word. Join us at 866-4326, and we'll preview tomorrow afternoon's show, which features one of us out of studio, on location, and in enemy territory. We'll explain next on The Fan.
with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's last call in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. What time is your flight?
5:50 in the morning tomorrow. So
Woo.
it's okay. Like,
Gino's-
what are you gonna do? I can sleep on. I can't sleep in a car, but I can sleep on a plane.
I can sleep in a car and a plane. And unfortunately, when I'm in a car, it's usually when I'm behind the wheel that I fall asleep, as I did when I was a teenager.
Yeah, the fact that you're here is
Shouldn't be alive.
No.
The flight is to Kansas City. Gene is on assignment. He's going into enemy territory. And will be live tomorrow from the studios of our Odyssey Sports sister station, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. So tomorrow, kind of Kansas City-centric, as you're going to hang with our buddy Binkley. You're going to see the Mets against the Royals, and we're going to have an afternoon of fantastic sports talk.
Yeah, looking forward to taking in some baseball out in Kansas City, and it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. So hopefully everybody can kind of tune in. It's going to be kind of different. Usually this is you heading on out.
Yes, but I've never done a show, unless you count my basement. I've never done a show on location. I mean, we've done our shows on location, but not from a foreign studio, as you're going to be doing.
Yeah, and I got months ago the green light from the executive producer. This is the key to marriage, Danger. You
continuous negotiation.
Yeah, well, it's like, hey, what do you think? You know, like, for example, hey, we're going to be in New York Labor Day weekend. Mets, we can get tickets. It's our anniversary weekend, Gene. Okay, no, we're not.
No,
you're
not going to the Mets.
Nope.
Let me see what theaters. What do we got? Broadway shows. What do we have?
Oh no, this is the rescheduled one. I had to come. I had to come down with COVID back in April.
Oh,
Danger.
that's
So
right.
this is the
You're going
this
to
is
the MoMA.
MoMA.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Museum of Modern Art.
And Central Park, and I'm sure there'll be another museum.
All while the Mets are in Queens.
Yep. So there's no Mets. There's no Blondies.
I'm going to tell you right now. You got to find your way to a Mets game with the executive producer.
Oh, you tell her that.
Give and take, buddy. It's continuous negotiation. Just find a way. Like, look at the schedule. They're all night games, I would imagine.
I was thinking 4:00 on a Saturday.
All right, good. You're not completely dead. You were thinking about it.
I was thinking that's the time we go out to a nice meal afterward back in the city, and nope.
Shot that down. Shot it down.
Yep. And then on top of it, because I don't know how your family dynamics are, because if I told that to my brother-in-law, he might gang up on the executive producer. She told him in advance just to take away the thunder. So there's no way
No
for me.
workaround.
No workaround. No.
You know, the plan I think that works in my family is me and my brothers-in-law, we get hammered on a holiday and come up with these plans that we kind of forget about. But then when we revisit them, we're like, no, that's a good plan. We need to follow through on that plan. Hey, we already talked about it. It's already done. It's a done deal. The latest being me going to Happy Valley for the first whiteout of the season against Oregon.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be good.
That'll be good.
But the hard bargain for the executive producer, anniversary weekend and everything she wants to do. I mean, I'm sorry. You want to do it too.
Yeah.
I know, Gene. You want to go to the Museum of Modern Art.
I can go to an art museum and I could find pleasure in looking at art, Danger. Not as much as going to a Met game, mind you, but she's not a Met fan. I can't
not
force
a Met
it.
fan or not a baseball fan.
She's not a basketball fan.
Okay.
Finds that, loves football.
Yep.
Tolerates baseball. We're all meeting over the Wings game tonight.
Okay.
So, like, when you go to a baseball game in person, I think it's 10 times better than
She ever been to Citi Field?
Yes.
So she knows what to expect
Yeah.
if you were to go. Plenty of dining options at Citi Field. Good food, good ballpark food.
There's no ambience around there. You got to take the train and go.
Well,
in.
you're
That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're there, you're going for the game, and that's it. Yep. Well, I still have. I'm still going to hold out hope that there's a way that you get to see the Mets on your.
It's. I'm seeing the Mets this weekend, so that's.
That's the trade-off.
That's the trade-off.
Well, it'll be a fun show tomorrow afternoon for sure with Gino in Kansas City, and we're going to talk to our buddies from 96.5 The Fan, our regulars that we have on from our Odyssey Sports sister station, including Alex Gold, who you can hear middays on the Fan in Kansas City through the Odyssey app. And also, yes, Jay Binkley will be a constant throughout the course of the afternoon tomorrow. And we'll talk plenty of Bills Chiefs. We'll talk plenty of AFC West and AFC in general. Lots of football. Dare I say, almost like a round table feel throughout the course of the afternoon. We'll try to keep it within the constraints of the sports bar here, but get the insight of the offseason here that the Kansas City Chiefs have had. And, Gino, just be prepared. I mean, I don't know. You want to break the ice with them and say, what happened to your quarterback? When did is he lining up at guard this year? What's Mahomes doing? Okay, maybe I'll say that because you'll be there in person.
Funny thing is, that'll set Binkley off. It will.
We have to do it.
It will. We were just bringing that up as a story, and then he's texting me over Mahomes stats. Yeah, I know. We know
his stats.
I know his stats. Yeah. He's great.
And this offseason, maybe he indulged a little bit more than he has in previous offseasons. So, again, my question remains, what's Mahomes' plan? Is he going to play quarterback or is he going to line up at guard? You blimp.
He's got a dad bod. He's probably had a dad bod other years, too. We just never saw it on display, right? Over the 4th of July.
Yeah. That's tomorrow afternoon starting at 3. Now, if you missed any parts of today's show, let's talk about where you can get us in podcast form. That's Spotify. That's Apple Podcasts. Our conversation with Alex Brasky, the Buffalo pregame pod, and Bills Digest. Good Bills conversation with Brasky earlier this afternoon, and the Hall of Famer, the voice of the Rochester Americans, Don Stevens, joined us last hour to break down the release of the Rochester Americans schedule for their 70th anniversary season. Don Stevens has been on the call for this season, will be his 40th of those 70 seasons. Pretty remarkable stuff. Those conversations available wherever you get your podcasts. Our YouTube channel is where you can go back and watch any part of the show you may have missed. We stream live on YouTube and Twitch at The Fan Rochester every afternoon from 3 to 6, except for tomorrow afternoon. No offense, Gino, but you're going to be there. I'm going to be here. And I don't think we're going to get a stream going tomorrow afternoon. Sorry, YouTubers.
Could just have it on you.
We'll figure something out. Or we won't do anything at all. So, Gene, safe travels.
All right, I will. I guess I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow for sure. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night. Hey, enjoy the Wings game tonight, Gino.
Oh, thanks, bud.